Welcome to Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. A casual conversation about the sport of darts, talking about topics of the day from a North American perspective, featuring a cast of characters and contributors from the CDC roster and the world of darts. Now here's your host, Anthony Eugenia.
All right, welcome in everybody to the latest episode of Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Corporation. Thanks for joining us. You can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You just search up at Champ Darts, as well as our website, www.champdarts.com. All right, so we ask you to subscribe and like those pages. We will also be found on podcast platforms like Apple and Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. So we ask you to give us a 5-star review and follow the show there. All right. Before I get to tonight's guest, let's do a little housekeeping. We want to keep you informed. And the best way to keep informed is to sign up for our newsletter. So stay in the know with the CDC. Sign up for the CDC newsletter to be the first to get the latest news, tips on improving your own dart game, special offers, discounts, and insider info. So go to champdarts.info/in-the-know. And that's how you'll stay up to date on everything that's coming up for 2026. Okay. So we're in the works. We're getting things ready to launch next year. Okay. And if you want to be part of the tour, all right, you can register at CDC Q School Series. All right. So that's how you can earn your card. I'll give you a schedule here in a second. That's how you can earn your card and be part of the CDC. I will move myself aside and give you a look at, there's the CDC Q School Series. We had our first one in October. We've got 10 more coming up. Let's give you a ticker there. We've got 10 more that are coming up that are on the schedule. Okay. We've got more in the works. So, you can look up at champdarts.com to register to see if there's a Q school near you, and that's how you can earn your card. Actually, right now, you earn a 2-year card, so you can set off on the Championship Dart Circuit and take your shot at playing the best in North America. And the best in North America is coming up in just a moment. Let me get rid of that. Okay. So let's see. Without further ado, this is the man we're going to talk to tonight. There's your graphic, your 2025 Continental Cup champion. He's a 5-time winner on the CDC Summer Series. He's a 5-time winner on the CDC Championship Dart Circuit. He's the 2024 CDC Cross Border Darts Challenge champion. And with the win in Philadelphia just a few weeks ago, he's now a 2-time CDC Continental Cup champion. Okay. So without further ado, let's bring in the man, Mr. Alex Spellman. Hey, Alex.
How's it going, guys?
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking some time tonight. Really looking forward to getting a chance to talk with you. How you feeling after a big win?
I mean, by now it's I don't know. That was just the first stepping stone into a lot of work coming up. So just in preparation of that, I'm trying not to think about it at all and just trying to relax and do things how I normally do. Mm-hmm.
So let's dive into the event itself a little bit. We'll hold off on the final for a minute, but we'll walk everybody through it. It's 16 players, the best 16 players in North America, coming through 16 tournaments all year long. So it's definitely a grind. It's an earned effort, right, to get into the cup itself. Along the way, you picked up the main event number 11. So you come in as the number 5 seed. And you played Nick Lindbergh. You took Nick out on Friday night, 5-3, throwing a 90 average. A quarterfinal match, a real epic against Gates, 6-5 to open up Saturday evening again with a 90 average. And then into a semifinal, just a real clash, taking on the number 1 seed, Adam Savati. You take him down 7-5, again throwing a real high average, 89. So how'd you feel coming into the tournament? It's been a year of some ups and downs.
Right. Well, the ups and downs this year have felt a lot better than the ups and downs of last year. Last year was trying to figure out what my motivations were, trying a little bit too hard. It's every dart player knows when you're trying to win, when you're just not your heart. Well, I don't want to say your heart's not fully into it, but I didn't know. I just didn't know the direction I wanted to take. It just makes it a lot harder. It feels more forced. Whereas this year, I was able to let that go, and still inconsistent, but seeing a lot of the very high end play that I had before, and the floor kind of rose a little bit as well. So I wasn't, 2023. I made half the. I was Savada in 2023.
Mhm.
I'm making half the finals a year. I didn't win as many as he did this year, but it's just I was feeling more competitive in those events. Like you said, I won season 11, event 11 this year. Well, I won
Mhm.
11 last year as
Yep.
well. Because that's my lucky number.
I was as I was writing my notes. Yeah, I noticed that. I said, everybody look out next year for in
but
event 11.
one of my coaching sessions recently, I was helping somebody, and I got a kind of a different camera view of my own throw that I don't normally get, and it just made me think of some things, made some changes, and I started playing a lot better. I mostly started seeing the better play on the soft tip end first, and then it started to kind of bleed over into the steel tip, and also jumping out of a lot of soft tip leagues. So I had a little bit more time. I wasn't so 24/7.
Yeah.
The combination of things helped me be in a really good spot at the back end of the year. Now, I did not have any expectations of winning the Continental Cup, as indicated by the fact that I had to cancel flights to like Seacoast and hotels and all that kind of stuff. I knew I was in really good position for Worlds. Doug missing one of the weekends really allowed me to get
Yeah.
a decent lead. But I knew I needed to finish fifth or sixth because I couldn't remember if the Continental Cup spot was from MSG or if it was its own spot. And I think I said in another interview, I don't know if that one's out or not, that I didn't want to look into it. I didn't want to know, oh, I need fifth.
Sure, carry that around the whole weekend.
Right. But feeling like I could be sixth also kind of gave me some like comfort. Finished fifth. So I knew that I was going to have a 5 out of 16 chance, but
Mhm.
I do feel like this was one of the tougher fields we've had in the Continental Cup from top to bottom. Even with some people not being there, like Jim Long and stuff, but Cade Newberry had a great year. I know he beat me up pretty good at one point in the season. Danny Young, if he can just finish off some of those quick starts that he has, he's dangerous. So I felt really good having the top 4 seeds in my corner, but I also knew that things could go anyway. So going into it, I was confident about the world spot. The other stuff wasn't even a thought.
That was one of the things I had in mind to ask was because you're one of the more self-aware players, so I assumed you were going to come into that weekend with some objectives based on where your game was, where maybe the mental part of things were, and have a benchmark to hit, and then if you surpass that, which you obviously did, then it's all gravy.
Like all the top players should come in knowing they could win, maybe even that they should win,
Mhm.
but I tend to not follow the ego side or like the confidence side, whatever you want to call that. I try to follow the realistic, what's probably going to happen. I don't want to like when I do my coaching. I just had finished up a session. I told him it's like I don't need to set a goal of I'm going to be the Continental champion.
Mhm.
If I'm showing up to the CDC, if I'm showing up to the Continental Cup, of course that's my goal. Like my goal is my objective is to play well. So I know that if I just play well, I'm always going to have a shot. But like I said, the realistic side was I have been up and down. Stowe and Savada especially have been trading, finals
Mhm.
appearances back and forth. So I figured it was going to be one of those two, and that actually made me feel good knowing, okay, well, if it's one of those two, I got Worlds at least.
Yeah.
And
You came in and like you said, a real cherry position on
right.
getting that world. So
And
at what point of the weekend then does it start to creep in your mind like things are going pretty good here? My game's coming together. I may have a real shot at this.
2-0 up on Savada. And that's probably why for the next 3 legs after that, I was absolutely terrible because I think I came out 15-14. I don't remember how I played in the 3rd leg. I know we came out with an 11, but I think I
Yeah.
averaged in like the 50s for the next 2 legs after that. And it was because I was thinking, I was like, I might actually be able to make a run here.
The creep you didn't want to
Right.
creep in all of a sudden was creeping in.
Right. And then on the back end of the match, I started like, you're fighting that battle of stop thinking about it and trying to calm yourself. And I started, I've never had this happen before, but like I told people like my hands went numb, like not swollen, but like if you've been out in the cold, that feeling of like you can't feel them.
Yeah.
That happened. My ankles were numb and my feet were tingling like when your arm's asleep and it has the tingles when it's waking up. Like I started to have these weird things, but somehow
and this was mid-match against Savada?
Yeah, I don't, to be honest, I don't know how I played the way I did at the back end of that match because I felt miserable. Not like miserable like in a miserable way, but just like it's like I couldn't feel my body.
Peculiar, it seems, is the word.
It was just heightened stress and anxiety. And sometimes you have those moments and you power through it like I did. Actually, somehow I started playing better. And then there's other times where maybe that same situation, I can't hit anything. Actually, I mean, it started in that leg 4 and 5 where I was averaging in the 50s. It's just that when you do that, it's almost like you still have the heightened stress, but then you come back to reality like, okay, there goes Savada. He's going on his run. There's my inconsistencies. And then the stress was still there, but since that stress was kind of already there, but then that confidence is doing this, when that confidence started to come back up and he started missing, it's like you just kind of zone out and it's like you're watching yourself play. Like you don't even know what the hell's going on. Next thing, like I said, if you go watch the video, I shake Savada's hand and I just kind of stand there and just like stare off into I don't know what I'm staring off into because I'm like, is that
actually done? Where am I?
I can't. I feel dizzy. I feel lightheaded. I had to immediately go chug some water, and I'm like, I feel this way, and I almost shot a perfect leg to end the match. Like it. I don't know. I genuinely don't know how I got through that. Like I said, I think most situations I don't get through that.
But you do get through it. You get through that roller coaster. Now you go into final against David Cameron, and he jumps out. You take the first leg, but then he reels off 5 in a row, and you're down 5-1. So where are you in your mind at this point? Like you said, you've got a match prior with Savada. You feeling peculiar, but you get through it. So there is a thought, hey, I can do this thing. But now all of a sudden, half hour later, you're down 5-1.
Right. So you don't learn all this stuff or build the confidence all in one moment. It's years worth of experience. So not even Doug Bain, but in 2022, I beat Keith Way 5-4. Then I beat Stowe Bunce 6-5. Then I beat Dave Cameron 7-5, and then I beat Doug 8-7. I literally played every possible leg except for one in that situation. When I won the cross border, I'm pretty sure the last 2 matches, the semifinals and the finals, I went to deciders. Here, you said I won 5-3, 6-5, 7-5 to get to the finals. That means I played all but 2 legs to get. So I love going the distance. Apparently, but you're
a showman. You want to give everybody their money's worth,
right? So, but in the Savada match, I probably had a little bit of confidence because I came back with my back against the wall against Gates. Gates missed tops for a 113 to knock me out of the tournament. He missed it. I somehow pulled out the win. So that gives you confidence against Savada. Even feeling the way I was feeling, you get the confidence to get through that. So when you're down against, Cameron, it's okay. I've been in this position before. You were there. So I know you heard the hecklers in the crowd, the loudness and stuff. Yeah. And early on, it was really bothering me. Not me. And I've said this a couple times, like it was bothering me because I didn't want it to bother Dave. If I'm going to get beat or if I'm going to win, I want it to be because he's just better than me. Or
to a lot of degree, right? A sportsman just wants things to be an even playing field, right? So that there's a sort of embarrassment in there, like, hey, don't don't knock this guy off his game. Like I want to win or lose
Like,
with everybody, on board playing the best that they can.
right. And even like if I had like a Tanya Harding situation, like if that's the path I wanted to go, I want to be the guy with the club taking your leg out. I don't want some random guy from the crowd taking your leg out, because now I feel like, again, not saying I want to do that, but I'm just saying that I don't want an outside force to influence the match. But during the break, I had to tell myself, it's clearly not bothering Dave, because if I don't hit that 146, I'm down 6-1. It's not bothering him. Stop letting it bother you. Just play your damn game. And if I think back to the Doug Bain match, I told myself the same thing against Cameron as I did against Doug, which is you don't need to win 7 straight. You don't need to win 7. Obviously I did, but you don't need to win 7-6 legs in a row right here. Just go 3-1, 3-1, and you win the match.
So that 146 is certainly going to go down as one of the biggest outs we've seen in more than a decade of CDC play. So you go right before break, a 146 that, in commentary, we love these moments in that then we get to sit there during that break and analyze, like, who's going to get hurt by that break? Who's, Cameron's up. Does he want that break? You hit that 146. Do you want to cling to that stage and not get off, or is it a like I just gave him a gut punch, right, and I'm going to let him sit and stew on it?
I'm not thinking about that at all. All I'm thinking about is I'm still down 5-2. Whether Trish picked up on it, or whether I haven't watched the broadcast back, but whether you can hear it or see it from my face, when I asked, is the second one in, it wasn't like is it in? It was more like, is it in? Like, because I hadn't hit anything all leg. It was more of an annoyance. And so in a weird way, that probably made a little bit, I didn't feel the pressure like, oh my God, I got to hit this. Otherwise it's going to be 6-1. It's just, I hadn't hit anything all game. You kind of see the writing on the wall. He's playing well. I'm going to get smashed. Hey, I made a good run. I shouldn't even be here. I should have lost to Gates. And then he gives you an opportunity. He misses the 120. I hit the 146, and it's more you hit it and you're like, now you hit something, But then I stayed out on stage, and I needed to get in rhythm. I needed to tell myself to not worry about outside influences, because again, it wasn't bothering me. It was bothering me because I didn't want it to bother Dave, and the fact that Dave was up, clearly, whether it was bothering him or not, it didn't look like it. So I just needed to talk
on the board. On the board, it wasn't bothering him. And now, of course, there's going to be pushback in the chat and when people watch it afterwards about, hey, that's not you. You're not in the crowd, so there's you shouldn't you take advantage or take every advantage that's given to you. Like you said, he's up 5-1, 5-2, so it's not hurting him on the board. But you can tell if something's getting under somebody's skin.
And I was able to, afterwards, I started playing a lot better. Dave started missing. Dave, there's certain characteristics Dave has in his game where you can tell he's frustrated. I started picking up on those, and then obviously the crowd was being the crowd, and I was able to just say, not my problem. Though if you ask Dave, the first words out of my house when it is like, I said, I'm so sorry about those guys. Like
certainly,
I just decided I need to worry about it after the match is over. I'm having to deal with it too. It's fine. And I'm not saying what they did was necessarily wrong or bad. That's why people love watching the PDC. They love seeing the rowdiness of the crowd. It's just in a smaller, more intimate venue, it just sticks out a little bit more.
It's more impactful. Yeah.
Right.
So you said you stayed on stage there. So now what is, referee calls back in, leg 8, where's the mindset? Is it, still just simply, one leg at a time?
Yep. No different. One of the guys that I've been coaching, he plays in the one of the Philadelphia leagues up there, and he always asks me, when things are not going well, how do I stop myself from like spiraling and trying to overthink everything? And I asked him, well, does your throw feel good? Are you missing by a lot or by a little? Like, because if it feels good and you're missing, you're just missing. My throw felt fine in the finals. I was just missing. Maybe my throw felt fine. My mind was elsewhere, but it felt fine. So I just stuck with it. I sent him a screenshot. I played Stowe yesterday or the day before on DPFL. And I sent him a screenshot and I said, the first 8 legs, I was averaging a 78 point whatever. And I said, but the last 10 legs, I averaged 100.8. And I didn't change anything about my throw. I didn't change my approach. I just threw the darts. Just like a lot of people stumble over the finish line. One of the things I've been teaching and coaching myself on is if I'm up 5-1 in a race to 6, I don't see it as I need one more. I just see it as, well, it's a best of 11. I still have 4 legs to go.
Yeah.
And I just try to, you like in a race, you run through the finish line. How many times do you see the guys that let up right at the finish line and they get passed at the last second? Just run through the finish line.
Yeah. It's very much a martial arts mantra as well. You punch through the target. You complete the action and to fulfillment. So, so now where does, things start going? Obviously now there's another creep that's got to come in, where you come out of that break and it's, we pick up a leg and it's 5-3 and now at what point is it still just, where do you start going like, oh goodness here, he's on his heels and I've obviously taken the momentum here.
It's weird because it seems like I don't necessarily have full control over when my brain says, oh my God, like we're actually making a run here, versus when my mind is just completely empty. And that situation, because I stayed out on stage and I just was basically saying I need to ignore anything and everything around me and just, like I said, run through the finish. That's even if I even get a stab at the finish. I was just trying to go leg by leg, dart by dart. And if they went in, they went in. The only time I actually thought about what I was doing was when I missed the bull, I think for 124 to win the match. When I had 25 left, that was the first time I actually had a thought in my head where I said, the last time I won the Continental Cup, I also had 25 in the last leg.
Yep.
And I hit a double 9 the first start. Let's not do that again. That was the first thought. That was the first thought I had after the break. Everything else was, I always tell people it's like I'm in like a daydream, like a daze where you're just kind of zoned out. I'm not thinking, I'm looking internally. I'm only paying attention to how I feel. If everything feels good, then I just, that's all I'm doing. I'm not paying attention to what my opponent has. The only time I might glance at the scoreboard is, am I on 124? Do I need to go for the bull? And I just see, okay, he's on a finish, then yeah. Otherwise, I couldn't tell you where Dave was at any point in any of those legs.
So you do then just keep going. You reel off seven in a row. Dave doesn't answer after that 1-4-6, and your dart goes in, and now you're a 2-time Continental Cup champion. And what's going through your brain there on stage in Philly?
Kind of the same thing, what I said in the moment, which was I was still in a bit of shock that I actually managed to pull it off. Like I said, the way Lindbergh finished off our match, he hit a 12, I think, to come within a leg of tying me. And I fortunately fired back with a 12 of my own, I think. And then again, being down 4 legs to Gates. And then that 3-2, going down 3-2 against Savada, where I'm shooting in the 50s and he's shooting really well. It just didn't seem, and even now probably doesn't really seem real. And I'm not just saying that to say that, like, it just genuinely feels like I don't know how the hell that I know what I can do. I know I've won it before, but it's just, if I'm realistic with myself, it's not that you don't believe in yourself. You just, you don't believe it. I don't know how to phrase that. It's like, it's not that I don't believe in myself. I just didn't believe in myself in that moment, but not in a way that affected my ability to do my job. I don't know how to phrase that, but.
So, the tale of the Alex Spellman journey in the CDC is sort of, two parts. You're with us in the early days, and you've talked about that, you wanted to come out, test yourself, and sort of see where you stood among the top echelon. And, and you really, you built on that, but COVID really was the key for you to be able to play at home, get those reps in, and it sort of, now it's, it's a different story in the sort of second part of the, the first CDC decade, if you will. We've got, this is the 11th year, but we've put on 10 Continental Cup championships. And so it's certainly a different, and a much stronger past couple of years, like all, those wins that I mentioned, 3 in 2023, another one in 24, 25, you touched on it as well, 6 runners up. So, 11 finals in just a few years on the tour proper.
Right.
The 2 Continental Cups across borders. So, where do you, I know you're an analytical guy and who's been on this tour, where do you place yourself in sort of the lore now of the CDC's first decade?
Obviously there's guys that are more winning. And it goes to the debates on how do you, like, when people ask me about, like, who do you think's the best player? Who do you think's it depends on the criteria, right? It's like, is it more Tom Brady, where he's not necessarily, like, he might be the stats guy because of longevity, but, like, somebody might look at, say, Aaron Rodgers and say, well, Aaron Rodgers was a technically better player, but Tom Brady has the accolades or something like that. Kind of the same arguments between like a Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, or Shaq. Everybody calls Shaq the most dominant player in basketball, but no one really considers him to be the best player. It just really depends on your phrasing, your terminology. I'd like to think that I'm one of the best as far as like quality of play. I think I have. For a little bit, I was the only player to ever lose with 100+ average in the CDC. I've done it twice now, but now we've had a couple guys that have joined us, which shows how well.
I was just going to say it. It sounds weird to say, but that's actually, from a growth perspective, those are good things.
Right. I think since 2023, I don't know if I had any in 2022, but sometime between there, I have the most 100+ averages in CDC history, and that's only over the course of 2 or 3 seasons, not of the full. So I'd like to think that as far as quality of play, I'm up there. I've always said that if I had to pick one player that was above me, or at least that could keep up with me when I was playing my absolute best, Gates was always that guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we see that quality from some of the other players. There's a couple dips here and there, but there's those guys like I tried to base my game off of like a Jeff Smith, where when I played him online darts 15 years ago, it registered with me where it was just, he was always 85 to 100 and he took it out in the first 2 darts, 85 to, and it's exhausting, like knowing that you already know what you're going to get. But if you play, like when I've played some of the other big names from the time, it seemed like they'd have really great leg, and then kind of an off leg, and then 2 really great legs, and then another off leg or 2. And I just felt like if I take advantage of those off legs, I'm going to be fine. And it makes you go into it with confidence.
Yeah. And you've on this continent, it's still something magical. We see the PDC guys seemingly hit 9 darters in every single Pro Tour, but you do have a 9 darter on your resume with the CDC at the cross border. So, in the span of a decade's time, but really, I think the last 5 years, you've put yourself up there in the conversation as we it kind of essentially turn to a next a second decade of play.
And you talk about a decade of play. One of the first things I do when I start my coaching sessions is I pull up my.dartconnect.com and I show them my average chart since 2015. I don't know what it was before that, but in 2015, I was about a 67 average shooter.
Yeah.
2 years later, I was a 75. 2 years later, I was an 80. 3 years later, during COVID, that's when I jumped up to the 90. And I show them that it's not an overnight thing. It is a progression. When I played the CDC that first season, I knew I wasn't going to win, but it wasn't for a lack of confidence. It was like, again, it's not that I wasn't confident that I couldn't win. I just knew I couldn't win. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
But I was there to support you guys. And hopefully if I did figure it out, I'd have something to come participate in. But otherwise it was just me kind of testing myself, see where I could get those 9-hour drives home where you're just brooding over how terrible you played. Like you kind of, everybody goes through that, but it's important for me to show them that I went through that. And these are like, I'm not just telling you like what you want to hear. Like, oh yeah, I used to suck too. It's okay. I need to show them that and then I can also show them where my practice game did this. And then my tournament game went up and then it dropped. And I can explain, this is where, oh my God, I figured something out and I'm playing good and I'm really confident and excited about playing. And then a year later, my practice game is still great because I'm comfortable at home. But now I have expectations put on me by myself and other people, and my tournament play dropped right back down to where I used to be. And it takes time to get over that. I need them to see that.
It's possible and it's doable. And, for those, who may not be familiar with everything that you've done, I mean, we are a CDC show, so we're focusing, a lot on the CDC, of course, but, there's other accolades you've got. One certainly is, over in the soft tip realm, a 2-time back-to-back winner there at the ESPN. Bull Shooter Invitational. Let's be fair, not a lot of dart players here in North America have on their resume, winning dart championships live on ESPN.
Right. Yeah. And I barely remember that event. I remember everybody making fun of me because, again, the stress and all that kind of stuff. And I know we'll probably talk about that a little bit later, but it's at such elevate. Everybody's making fun of me because I shoot and you can just see my fingers like doing this. But I use that in some of my coaching as well to show them that I tell them when most people, when they're all shaky and stuff, they tend to tense up and try to stop it. Whereas me, I relax, which almost makes it look worse sometimes.
Well,
And
that's the first time that I remember that you brought it up in public in an interview because somebody asked and you were like, "No, for me that's not a bad thing."
Well,
It's because people could see the dart and you were like, "No, that's not nerves that are going to derail me." It was my process and
right. So the more I'm learning about me, the more I'm realizing that it was elevated stress and stuff. I didn't feel it. Like I didn't.
Mhm.
I'm zoned out. I had somebody else have to point it out to me. Like, dude, why were you nervous playing that guy? You were smashing him, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, dude, your hands were shaking like crazy. And sometimes they did. Sometimes they didn't. I don't know why. But
Yeah.
but in that moment, I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it till Mike Maloney sent me the video of it. I didn't know that I was shaking that much. I didn't even know I was shaking at all. But obviously I was. I can see it on camera.
Mhm.
But like now that I'm more aware of it, I talk to my people and I tell them like the next time you sit there with the shakes, I told them just let yourself like not go limp, but just like relax. Let that weight sink in. And yeah, your hand will still be shaking, but you'll find that I can do because you're not doing this, your body is. So
Mhm.
you can be relaxed. So if I can do this and just fire through to my target, I might be shaking like a little chihuahua, but I can still hit my target. So
Yeah.
my best matches have been when I'm sitting there kind of like a little bit on edge, shaky. And I really only see that when I watch the video back. Like when I played Kevin Luke last year, I might hold some kind of record for this, but I beat him 5-1 and I won with 5 14 darters. So it was all the same. But I beat him
Wow.
with 5 14 darters and I had a little bit of the shakes going on. I don't know why, but I just
Mhm.
there's something about it. I don't know if it's because I'm just hyper focused. I can't explain it. It's kind of the same thing with the Savada thing. It seems like I black out. Oh, okay, not literally, but it just feels like I can't feel my body anymore, and I'm just like zoned out, and it just kind of does its own thing. I don't know.
Well, that's a thing, and we're going to touch on some of these things a little bit later in the conversation. But yeah, there are those responses that your body and the neural synapses will sort of kick into gear to deal with certain situations. Um, so I'm going to use that as a segue now to just talk about like you're going to be in high pressure situations coming up. You
Yeah,
touch on the worlds and there's going to be other opportunities, but I wanted to sit on the worlds just for a second and acknowledge where
yeah.
it's October 30th. So congrats to Matt Campbell today. He booked his spot in the World Championship via the Pro Tour, and that's going to be 6 players that are from North America now in the World Championships. We've got Adam Savada, Stowe Bunce, David Cameron, Leonard Gates, yourself, and now Matt Campbell. And I know I've got a list around here somewhere because at some point I was, I wanted to track our history, but it's six North Americans in the world playing in the World Championship is a good deal. And I think it's been quite a while since we've been
Oh yeah.
at that number.
And from a player's perspective, when we have 6 guys going over there, if any one of us just kind of is absolutely terrible, it's easy to be forgotten because the next guy's about to come up, the next guy's about to come. Whereas when we would send one guy over, you're carrying
Oh,
the weight of
certainly,
you.
certainly, and I was always almost going to use a couple of those names, but we'll just not go there. But yes, certainly, when there's that one player, 2 players, there was so much spotlight and so much expectations heaped on one person's shoulders that
Yeah.
it's easier to
Um,
spread the wealth around.
I feel like, and I don't know if you really remember what it was like, but I feel like the community is a lot better and more supportive now than they were a decade ago. A decade ago, it was just, oh my God, why are we sending them again? Why are we?
Oh, I clearly remember that. Yes,
And
without a doubt.
I'm sure if someone digs it up, there's a comment from me out there saying, like, I hope that I don't get to have the opportunity to play these things in the future because I don't, it's a lose lose situation. Like, it feels like no one's there to support. Like, why would I even want to do that? And then, of course, now here I am. Now, like I said, I feel like it's a much better community support now than there used to be.
I would concur with that. I know, I know the whole, U.S. and Canadian circuits has always been, communal, but I would agree that it feels a lot more supportive now, and I'd love to think, I that we maybe have a little part in that players are getting to mix it up and see each other on a really regular basis at the top level anyway, and that sort of breeds that respect and camaraderie as equals and competitors and stuff. So, so as part of the Continental Cup win, of course, we are going to the World Championship, going to the Grand Slam, and then a spot in the U.S. Masters in New York in June. That's been announced already. That's the end of June, I believe. And then, on the rankings, you also qualified for the Winmore World Masters. So a couple of big PDC opportunities coming up. And of course, for my friend Phil Bars, I got to ask, is Q School going to be in that mix in the next couple months in this whole PDC journey that's coming up?
Yeah, no Q School this coming one. And of course, you can always say that as competitors, and I think Gates even said it recently, he could decide at the last second. Well, so could I. But I think right now that there's other things that I have in the pipeline. I'm trying to move away from day job darts and do more high-end darts. And when I say high-end darts, it doesn't necessarily mean PDC stuff. I want to try to build stuff here first because I like it here. And there's a lot of players that feel the same way. There's a reason why Jeff Smith he doesn't really feel like it's worth it right now. And that's not to discourage like guys like Sabata. He's going to go, and if he gets it, he's going to play, and he's going to think about moving there, and that's great. And we should support him. But I want to help create options here, and I think that very soon I'm going to have a pathway to help with that, and potentially tie the CDC in with that. So I have some conversations to have with you guys at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've all talked about that. You're part of our Players Council, so we've had those conversations. And yeah, I think we've always been on board with that it certainly needs to be a two-pronged effort. We want to provide the overseas opportunities, right? And then, from a PDC perspective, they want the affiliates in the regions to produce new pro players, right? But yeah, there has to be a home turf effort to make sure that there's enough prize money and good competition, because it's got to click here, right? Ultimately, it's got to click here. We've got to build that circuit that allows us to put on the championships and major events that we can sell to to a broadcast partner.
And whether this is the right way to approach things or not, this is just how I am, and I'm not ever going to really change it. But I've always felt like if I quote unquote prove to myself that I could do something, to me that's just as good as actually doing it. If I said I could climb that mountain and I know I could, I don't feel like I need to do it to prove it to myself. So I had a conversation with Larry at WADA a couple years ago, and I played I think I went like 6 or 7 darts into a 9-darter twice in the same match against him. And I always told him, I was like, I don't feel like I'd ever get that excited when I finally hit a 9, because I've come so close so many times that it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And 2 matches later, I missed the double 12 in the finals against Dave Walsh. But if I had hit it, I would have done like a little sarcastic, but I don't get excited from moments like that, because I feel like I already know I can. So it's like I said, it feels inevitable. That doesn't mean I'm ever actually going to do it. So it's like when a lot of people see what we do, but then there's a lot of things that they don't see. So people that have only recently started following me, or people would say, oh, the Americans are terrible. I can bring up, okay, well, let's look at recent things. Jason Brandon beat, Rob Cross 6-0. Or no, sorry, that was Danny Lobby beat Rob Cross 6-0. Jason Brandon beat, I'm saying so many names. I'm sorry. Danny Lobby beat Rob Cross 6-0. Jason Brandon beat Bunting when Bunting was probably the best player on the World Series Tour at the time. That's just recent. We had Jeff Smith, who made the final. We've had Campbell, who's made regular runs, not just on the Players Championship, but at the World Championship. We've had Baggish made a 2 or 3 round run into the World Championships there. We've had Modus success when Neil Duff was the number 1. I think he was the number 1 player. I beat him all 3 times at Modus. When I played Littler, I beat him all 3 times at Modus. When Stowe Bunce and I went and practiced with Rob Cross and Scott Williams, I beat Scott Williams 6-1, and I lost across 2-3, and Stowe won more sets against those two than like I've already proven to myself that I can compete with those guys. So I don't feel like I need to go do it. Like, I don't feel like I need to go to the Pro Tour and do it if I can make a living doing it my way over here. And I know that disappoints some people because they want to see me over there, but I play certain events and I get excited, not for me winning, but excited for, like, when I won ESPN, because you mentioned that it was more fun for me to win knowing I had people watching than for me to just win. It's the same reason you see when MVG hits a 9-darter on the floor, it's almost like he doesn't care. I still have a match to win. He just grabs his darts.
Yeah.
But at a tournament, he gives it to the crowd, not necessarily because he's pumped up, but because he's trying to pump up the crowd. So I'm a little bit different in that sense. So that plays into why I don't want to go to Q school right now, is because I want to see what I can. If we try some stuff here and it doesn't work out, the PDC is still going to be there. So as of right now, it's just not in my interest.
And you're building a lot here, like you said, in the dart realm. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Let's talk about where you've transitioned from, what you were doing for a living, and at what point you decided that darts is going to be a full-time thing, and you could explain to the people what that means, full-time, because you've got your hand in quite a bit right now.
Right. So initially went to Appalachian State University as a, let me see, it was business of science and business administration, computer information systems. Basically, it was just like IT. There's computer science, which is more of the programming stuff. I did start there, but I was like, as much as I love math and programming can be fun, I'd rather do the hardware side. So I went to that side. Got a job at Lowe's Hardware, their corporate office, did that for 6 years. Then I hated it, and hated it so much that we bought a house 2 hours away and said, well, I better find a job if I don't want to commute 4 hours. Because it was one of those, people always talk about making life changes and then they just never do it. And we just decided we're going to do it.
And when you say we're talking about your lovely wife?
Yes, because she was a probation officer, and it was easy for her to transfer within the state. So she was ready to move closer to family. I was ready to just get away from my job. I had sent in an application to Epic once and then didn't get a return. But then a month later, I think I got another one, got in. At the time, like I grew up playing their video games, and I didn't see it as like I'm thinking corporate jobs, not video game company. Sorry, my alarm's going off. There we go. I'm thinking corporate jobs, not working for a video game company. And then 3 months after I started there, we released Fortnite, and then I never wanted to leave. But kind of like what I'm doing with darts is I had my hand in literally everything there. I was basically a living, walking Wikipedia. Now I'm mostly an idiot when it comes to like pure technical knowledge, but I know how to work. Like I knew how to find information. I was like, I joke that I was like Dr. House, where I could make connections other people couldn't. Maybe it was because I didn't have all this tech knowledge that I was able to maybe ask dumb questions that they would be like, they would never be that. Well, turns out like most people don't know, like video game controllers now are so advanced that if you plug one into your computer because you want to play a game with it, it can show up as like a hard drive, and your computer won't start because it tries to load the controller, not the computer. There's just weird stuff. But it got to a point where they begged me to take an engineering job. I told them, no, I'm not an engineer. I'm barely smart enough to do my job. I'm just really good at making it look good. But they insisted, like, no, we got someone, they're going to train you. And I said, okay, fine. With the contingency that if it doesn't work out, I get to go back to my old job. Not very many people negotiate a demotion as part of a promotion.
Indeed.
But they said, hey, there's no problem with that.
And this was all in North Carolina?
Yeah. So Cary, North Carolina is the headquarters where Epic Games is. So,
okay.
But anyway, I felt like I got a little bit catfished because it just didn't go well from there. It felt like I was in a relationship where I got cheated on, and I tried to make the relationship work, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I went from doing the work of like 10 people to just doing my job and then calling it a day. And they noticed, and they basically offered that it was in a downsizing time. I didn't get fired and I didn't get quit. It was basically like
it's not you, it's me.
Here's a severance if you want to leave today. And I was like, I was going to leave at the end of the year anyway. But they offering me severance to just go ahead and leave. I was like, okay, well, you're just paying me to Okay, cool. Now, instead of going straight back into IT, as I'm sure you're aware, in the IT in US, Canada, wherever, there's usually that probationary period of like, well, if I start a new job, I can't really have time off. Well, this is in 2023 around
Oh.
April, and that was
Mhm.
my big year. I was playing really well. I didn't. I just said, I told the wife, hey, you know what? I'm going to take the rest of the year off, because if I'm playing for a world championship spot or this or that, I don't want to have that interrupted by a new job. I'll look for a new job in
Yeah.
January. But then I won bull shooter, and then the next weekend I had a decent weekend at the CDC. Then the next weekend I had a decent weekend at DPFL, and in a 3 weekend stretch, I made like $25,000, and I was like, maybe I could just keep playing. And
There's a little
obviously,
something here.
yeah, obviously, we don't have those types of paying events every weekend or every other weekend. Um, and you might have a weekend where you don't make any money. You might have multiple weekends you don't make any money. So I needed to look at other things. Well, I always told people, if I didn't get into IT, I wanted to be a teacher, just because I like helping people.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking, well, maybe my way of doing that, but doing something I enjoy, is, well, I can do the dart coaching stuff. So I started doing. I probably wasn't very good at it at first, and maybe I'm still not, but I seem to be getting a lot of good feedback. So hopefully it's still that. I don't advertise my coaching at all. My thing is, like, if I do a good job, you're going to tell other people,
Sure.
and I still get people every week. So
Well,
far,
I mean, but we're doing a little promotion of that now. So how would people, if they were interested in working with you, how would they get in touch with you?
I always tell them to just message me directly on Facebook. There is like an Anubis Academy Facebook page, but it's not.
Mhm.
I only have one post there basically, and it's just the basic information. It's just easy for me to, if I'm on the road, I can send somebody the link or say, hey, look this up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it
We'll
just used to
bookmark
be
that.
a copy paste to somebody and say, hey, if you have any questions. Like, I pay for Google Workspace, which allows me to set up a calendar that shows my availability, so I can update it as I have tournaments or leagues pop up, and then people can grab the time when they're free, because not everybody, and the time zones are
Yeah.
different, and not everybody. Some people work at nights and day, so it's just easier to say, okay, I'm available from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Grab a time when you're free. Uh, but it's been going really well. It's it's much more rewarding to see them succeeding. One of the guys, I don't know if you met him or not, but Vincent Malia, he came up to the Continental Cup. He was the guy wearing the dart face thing up front, but he started working with me, and initially he was just, I just want to play, as in, like,
Yeah,
I'm on a
maybe I
team.
did. I may Now that I think, if he's from Long Island, then I think I
Yeah,
might have met him.
or yeah, I think he can't remember where he lives for some
Yeah.
reason, on the but like, he was at D'Angelo's whenever we did the Win More
Yeah,
meetup and stuff
sure.
like that. So, but
Mhm.
when we first started working, it was, I just want to play. Like, I'm not that great. I'm on a team, but they don't play me. So his goal was, I just want to play. He didn't want to be the best player in his league or anything. I just want to play. And now we've progressed to, he went from playing to, he was the guy when we needed to win. He was the guy they put in. And so seeing those now, I say, okay, if even if that's only because in C League or B League, like, that's still a big deal to him. Maybe not to higher
Absolutely.
up.
Absolutely. Everybody's
Right,
got goals at different levels.
right. So seeing those kind of things, and I've worked with a lot of people now, and I'm sure not everybody's gotten great. Again, I don't. My approach is a lot different. I've had people that have worked with, like, Daniel Poole and Matthew Edgar and stuff. In mine,
Mhm.
I'm just a little bit more in depth. I want people to understand why things happen. I've said this on a couple interviews. I want them to become chefs. I want them to know all the ingredients that go into the dish, but they know them so well. They still had to work on them individually, but then they know them so well that when they're cooking, they're not even thinking
Mhm.
about it anymore. They're just doing it. But in the finished product, they can taste it and they know, oh, I forgot to do this, or I put too much of that, or I put too little of that, or what. They just know what they can identify the issues right away without even thinking. So I know a lot of people think I overthink, but I already did all that over here over the last couple of years. I'm not overthinking. I already know what I'm doing wrong, and I already know how to fix it. The frustration comes when I know what I'm doing wrong and I know how to fix it, and my brain is giving me the finger saying, no, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Knowing, we've talked a little bit to get ready for this interview, so I know your approach to sort of teaching somebody is going to be, just as much, mental and analytical as it is going to be physical on the
Right.
board. So let's talk about a little bit about that, about your journey, in discovering what makes Alex Spellman tick. You touched on a little bit about realization that you may experience a little bit of ADHD
Yeah.
and some autistic traits, which in disclosure, my son has, is on that journey. It's what I do for a living. I work with many different types of students, but some of
Right.
them are autistic, and it's been a real amazing journey for me in the last couple of years to see that it's it's this amazing thing that just sort of needs to be harnessed. I watch these young students, and I get the privilege to work from kids from preschool all the way into 18 plus, and you just look at them and you go, they've got an obvious aptitude for X, and that's
Right.
the path that they should head down. And there's strong points and weaker points and stronger points.
Right.
So talk to us about
Yeah.
that the journey that's been taking place.
So around the time that I was planning on leaving Epic and all that stuff. Like I said, it was my dream job. I thought I was never gonna do anything else again, but I just didn't. Like I said, it was that feeling of like getting cheated on, and I didn't
Mhm.
know how to deal with that, and it was causing my stress levels to go up. And I didn't realize I was having panic attacks because I've seen people have panic attacks and they're freaking out, and they're hyperventilating. Whereas me, it's like I get short breathing, like I can only breathe up here, and I get like lightheaded and dizzy and all that kind of stuff. But even if I just thought about work, I would feel that way. So I
Yeah.
went to the doctor and said, I was taking some CBD and some other stuff. I say some other stuff. It was like Delta 8, whatever it was.
Mhm.
Because man, it calmed me down and I could sleep. It was the best thing. I've tried other sleep medication. Like I take medication as like well, it doesn't hurt, but it does. If I take medication for a headache, if I take medication for this, it just seems like hours later, nothing happened. So
Mhm.
I've tried melatonin. It just said, but the CBD Delta 8 stuff, amazing. But then I came across a random conversation where someone said, "Hey, I'm getting drug tested for a new work, and I do Delta 8, and I didn't know that you could test." And I started, and I'm like, "Wait a second." I was like, "This is like hemp kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
it can test positive for THC." And
Oh yeah.
immediately went to Walmart, got one of those like at home tests, and I'm like, "Well, son of a bitch," and
It lit up like a Christmas tree.
right. And so I went to my doctor and I was like, all right, so I can't take this stuff anymore. So what would you suggest? And we went through like, you go through the questionnaire and we talked through stuff. And so she said to kind of help quiet the mind, she's like, I know you're not depressed, but we're going to give you some antidepressants to help kind of
Mhm.
calm the mind a little bit. And
Mhm.
then we're going to give you propranolol, which I now learn is a beta blocker. We're going to give you propranolol
Yeah. Yeah.
to help with the panic attacks, and then it makes me drowsy, helps me go right to sleep. Perfect. Cool. So I tried it, came back to her, I said, this is perfect. I was like, I go right to sleep. It's great. And then I said, this is great because when I traveled to Europe to play, when I went to Germany, I was there for 6 days and I maybe slept for like 3 days because I just could not go to sleep.
Mhm.
I stay up till 2 in the morning normal. So add 6 hours to that. It's like 8 a.m. is my normal bedtime over there. So there were times I just stay up, play, and then kind of nap throughout the day. And I mentioned that to her, and she's like, "Oh, what are you traveling for?" And I was like, "Oh, I play professional darts or competitive darts, whatever." And she's like, "Oh, well, just make sure that you can take this medication because there are some sports that." And I'm just like,
Oh boy.
"Okay." And then
Yeah.
I look it up, and sure enough, I'm just like, "Oh my god!" And I told Jessica, I was like, "I'm supposed to go play Challenge Tour this weekend. I don't want to play. I'm too scared to go. It's whatever." And then I did what I'm not gonna lie. I talked to a PDPA representative within the last couple months, and he told me the worst thing you could have done is what you did. And I was like, well, I can't help. I think part of what ticks up here is I can't not correct things. And when
You
I say
mean
that,
you
like,
mean what to draw focus on not going?
no, like I have to be like correct, like fact. So here's I got paid for the exhibition at DPFL. and they said, hey, we're going to send you X amount afterwards. And I was like, but I thought we only agreed to whatever. And it was like a half the amount that they said. And like, I just can't not. Today, Buffalo Wild Wings, I had an issue with Uber Eats, and they said, you know what we're going to do here? Make sure you get your refund, but I'm also going to put you in the system for some free food. And I started to say, no, you don't have to do that. I just want the money back. I can't stop myself. So the first thing I did was, when I found out, like, okay, great, I got to go to Challenge Tour this weekend, and if they test me, I might have this and I might have that. First thing I did was I called up the DRA, and I was like, hey guys, just so you know, if you test me this weekend, I'm gonna pop positive.
Okay, well, yeah, all right. You hadn't filled us in on that. Okay, yeah, that I can relate to. Yeah, I've been guilty of putting my foot in my mouth by trying to be too earnest, and then you get advice where you're like, you just should have kept it mum.
Right. I don't even see it, because I didn't even see it as putting my foot in my mouth. I'm just telling them, like, this is what's going on.
No, I know, but I'm saying, on retrospect, and then people are like, you probably just shouldn't have said anything out loud.
And like I said, when I talk to the PDP, one of the PDPA guys, they're just like, dude, why didn't you just shut up? And I'm just like, because I can't. I don't. It's just not. I can't help it.
Well, because exactly, like, I can relate to this, because that's not how the brain works. It's a constant, what was, what is, and it's a constant fight to stay in.
Right, and it's not
in
even
the moment.
Right, and it's not even like that kind of stuff necessarily too. It's like, it could just be anything. Like, my favorite example of me putting my foot in my mouth is like, I don't gift people things very often, but when I do, I make sure, oh my God, this is perfect and you're going to love it. I'm not just like, oh, you like the Packers? Here's a Packers beanie, Merry Christmas. To me, that feels easy. Like, I want to like get you something really amazing. The thing is, though, is if someone gets me a Packers beanie, I'm going to wear it every day. I love it. But I'll tell somebody like, oh, you got me this. That's cool. Like, sorry, I didn't get you anything. I'm just like, I didn't want it like an easy gift. And then I start making it sound like, oh, you just took the easy way out to get it. And then I start trying to like really explain, and I dig myself a hole. Like, when I got tested for autism, she said, I just want you to give me yes or no questions, or yes or no answers to these questions. But I could physically not stop myself by saying yes, because I said, I'm so sorry.
I understand. Yeah, I understand the process.
Understand why I'm saying yes.
Yeah, I'm smiling and laughing because I completely understand the process.
Yeah. It's been difficult because, okay, so I had this, so then they said, okay, hey, look, it's no problem, just stop. And then I started filling out the TUE side, and I've been talking about this pretty openly because other people may have to go through this type of stuff. So I put in the TUE, and they said, okay, well, we need more information. So I went to my doctor and said, they need more information for why you prescribed this. She wrote a letter why she felt like it was the best stuff for me, sent it over, and they said, we still need more information. Okay, so then I went back to the doctor, and she's like, maybe they want you to talk to an actual psychiatrist to get like proper diagnosis, all this other stuff. So I went and talked to her, and we started figuring. The first thing she prescribed me, without even checking, because I told her, I was like, she wanted my current medications, and I asked her, I was like, can I actually not tell you that, because I want to kind of go into this blind to see what you would recommend. And she actually prescribed me the exact same. Well, she prescribed me propranolol and Lexapro. I guess one of the antidepressants. I can't remember what the one that my main doctor gave me, but still the same medication. Went back and I said, okay, now I have a psychiatrist. I have a second person, and they said, but we still need more information. So I went back to her, and they're like, maybe they want an actual diagnosis. So she's like, that's not my realm. And she's like, but let's discuss things. So the only thing I'm officially diagnosed with, which might surprise some people, is social anxiety. And I was like, yeah, but I don't mind being in front of a crowd and all that stuff. And they were like, okay, but just like everything else, that there's a spectrum there. And so she started asking questions. Okay, like, if your neighbors are outside, what do you do? And I'm like, if I need to run out to my mailbox, if my neighbors are at their car unloading, I will not go outside until they're done, until they go outside. I don't even mind the conversation. I just don't want to have it to start with. If someone's calling me, I won't answer. I can't. I mean, I do, but not all the time. I've always, only recently in the last couple of years have I gotten better with it, because I have to meet so many people. I despise eye contact. I don't know why. I just hate it so much. So if you're ever talking to me and you just kind of see me wandering, I don't even notice I'm doing it anymore. I just can't not do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I worked as a doorman, and like I dreaded the people coming off the elevator. I dreaded the how are you question,
like once,
because it was like this this social anxiety of, I couldn't figure out that it's just a nicety. I was like, well,
Right. Once
I
it
don't really want to
starts,
tell
it's
them,
fine.
but they don't really care. And
Once it starts, it's fine. It's just the potential conversation. Um, if there's somebody that I'm like, I swear, I was like, maybe there's somebody that I'm just not in the mood to deal with right now, and I see them like kind of in my path to go to the bathroom. I'll wait until they get up, just because I know that if you say something to me, I'm probably going to be a little bit snarky with you. There's very, very, very few people like that, or that I'm with, like that I am like that with.
Mhm.
But still, I will avoid. It's not that I'm afraid of confrontation. It's just that I want to avoid it, because if you get me to that point, I'm going to go all in, and I just rather not. So, but I start to hear these things, and then we go and they say, nope, still not enough information. Okay, and then she's like, well, maybe they want us to try other medications first. So then we start trying other things. I think like clonidine was one of them, and it's not a banned substance, whatever. I took that while we were at
Mhm.
PopCon, because again, social thing. I didn't know how it was going to go. I took it to help me calm down. The first day, I kept feeling dizzy. I kept having to sit down because it was doing stuff. So I didn't take it the next time. And I loved PopCon, so I know I don't need it again. It was just that first day I didn't know how I was going to react to it.
Yeah.
But uh, we kept trying medications, and it either did nothing or it would make me feel dizzy, like I was going to pass out. So uh, I told them, I was like, look, we haven't had any success, and they were still, we still need you to try some. Well, still, and I'm
Mhm.
like, Jesus Christ, it's been a year. Like, can we like reach but then I got to the point where right after MSG last year, I knew I had a long break before there was any WDF, there was any CDC, anything where whatever. Like, realistically, I know that they're not going to come testing over in the WDF or anything like that. At
Yeah.
least not likely. But I can't help it. That tick in my brain that's like,
As
but what
long as
if?
the possibility exists, it's
And
going to
it
be
just
in your
drives
brain.
my anxiety even higher. So
Yeah.
uh that like literally like the day or two I got home after MSG, I was like, okay, I need sleep. I haven't slept in so long testing this other stuff. I just need to chill. And I took my regular medication, and I also took some CBD so that I could chill. Well, the combination of the two caused me to have a panic attack, because my heart rate just kept going up.
Mhm.
But then I bottomed out, and I passed out right here. My wife was sitting here on the couch. I knew I was going to pass out, and I was about to tell her, hey, I'm about to pass out. It's going to be
Look
fine.
look out.
But I got about halfway down. I was going to
Yeah.
get on the floor first and then tell her. I got about halfway down, and I went down. I had like a big, rug burn and all
Oh
that stuff.
boy.
But that was the moment where I finally messaged the DRA, and I'm like, I'm not interested in doing this anymore. Like, I literally just went to the emergency room. My wife thought I died because of this. And it's not just stress and dart related. It's like the last time I went to get a blood draw, they think I might have like vasovagal syncope as well. I'm not scared of blood, not scared of needles, not scared of anything like that. But for some reason, 5 minutes after I get a blood draw, I just will pass out. When I was a teenager, I didn't pass out. My vision would go black and white, like I Love Lucy. I thought it was actually
I
kind of
passed
cool.
out for the first time about 6 months ago. I went for a blood test, and and I could hear the voice going, "Mr. Eugenia, you okay?" And I obviously wasn't.
Oh,
I'm sitting, and I went sideways, and
right.
it all just went black.
So I had really bad acne when I was in high school, and I would take Accutane. So they had to take regular blood tests to make sure there was nothing weird. But after I was done, I would have to sit down in the room, because I knew that I would get lightheaded, and my vision, like I said, would go black and white. And I thought it was cool. I had these like jean shorts that had like NBA logos all over them, and I would just see like the Lakers logo go from yellow and purple to just gray and black and white, whatever.
Wow.
I thought it was cool. But then years go by, and I'm always healthy and all that stuff. So I don't go to the doctor. But Jessica's like, well, you need to go to the doctor. It's been a decade, whatever. And I'm like, fine. So I go get the blood draw, and I'm sitting there watching it, and they said, can you look away? And I'm like, no, it's fine. And we just ask, everybody looks away. And I'm like, okay, fine. So me and my ADD brain, I'm just like looking around, and I'm like reading posters and stuff. And I hear her say, are you okay? And I don't answer right away. I don't know why. Like, I was in the middle of reading something, and she
Mhm.
says, are you okay? And I was like, oh, sorry, I was reading and I zoned out. And she's like, no, you've been out for like 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I was like, but to me, I never lost consciousness. It's like I had a little bit of like that fade in the
Uh-huh.
peripheral vision, but that was it. But I only believed her because I don't know where this nurse came from, and she has the blood pressure thing. And they were asking me like, have you ever passed out before? And I'm like, not that I'm aware. And they were like, your heart rate dropped to like in the 30s, and like it wasn't you scared us. And I'm like, well, at least I'm aware of it now. Then the second time it happened, now I'm worried about it because I'm like, wait, is this like a thing that's going to happen every single time? If my heart rate's dropping into the high 20s and low 30s like that, one beat less than every 2 seconds, or one beat every 30 seconds, or whatever it is, seems really, or whatever the hell the math is on it. It seemed really scary to me. And so now I was becoming more hyper aware of it. So just like the last time I went to get my blood draw, now I'm used to it. So she does the draw. I'm on my phone. I'm booking a flight for a tournament. And she's like, all right, you're all done. And I was like, I'm going to hang out for like 10 minutes because sometimes I pass out, whatever. And I'm like booking my flight and I start to feel the tingles and like the cold sweats. And so I just put the phone down and I say, all right, I'm going to pass out. I'll be fine. But apparently I had like a mild seizure the last time too. So I didn't tell them that because, well, as far as I'm aware, I've never had a seizure before while I had that. So it's gotten to the point now where I'm getting a little bit frustrated with working with the DRA, which is why I got tested for autism. Okay, if going through all of that still wasn't enough for them, then, okay, well, let me try to go to a different psychiatrist, get tested for autism. Okay, I was this close. So, and I know I'm going in super detail, but who knows? It might help somebody else.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about.
So there was 5 criteria that I had to hit. And I had to hit high on at least 3 of them to be labeled as autistic. 2 of them, I didn't register at all. 2 of them, I was extremely high on. And one of them was inconclusive. There wasn't enough data, like childhood data and some other stuff. But not just childhood data, but like, I don't know if you're aware of like masking behaviors. So maybe you acted a certain way as a kid, but I grew up in the military, so we moved around a lot, and I learned how to work with different types of people, and you start to learn how to pretend to act normal.
Oh, I know. I know masking very well.
Yeah. But then you do it for so long that I do it now just because, even though it might not be genuine. Like if someone's sad, I go give them a hug. But I don't get sad. I can't really relate to that. But I know when people are sad, you go, I feel really bad because my grandfather passed away 2 or 3 weeks ago. And me as a person, I felt nothing. Like I didn't feel sad. I feel sad that like my grandmother has to grieve and all this stuff. And a lot of this has had to do with him. They helped put me through college. I stayed with them while I was in college, all that stuff.
Well, I would assume you approach that from a very rational standpoint. Like I understand my relationship. Right. I appreciated my relationship with him and the things that we did and his value to me, but not an overwhelming sense of grief as other people would go through.
Right. People have criticized me because they'll ask me like, oh, how did you meet your wife? How did you know she was the one? And I was like, I knew she was the one because she was the only person I've ever missed. Like when something cool happened, I was thinking about her and oh my God, I want to share. But like if I had my best friend right here next to me and he moved away, I'd just be like, man, that sucks, man. I'll see you later. Like I'll check in. Like, but there's no.
So you've got masking and detachment.
Yeah, I guess so. Now, we can trace this back maybe to around 3rd grade. I had one of those like moments.
Well, that's so. Think about that though. Like what, as you start to learn some things, right? Learn some things not only about yourself, but about different parts of the spectrum or different personality traits. How do you reflect back on things? Do you look back on stuff and go like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I always wondered about, why I reacted this way, that way.
I wonder why for an entire weekend I watched Wayne's World on loop. Why? Or why did I only listen to one musical artist for 5 straight years and then I find somebody else and then I only listen to them for maybe why I'm a Metallica. Before Metallica, I listened to nothing but ZZ Top for like 3 years. And before that, it was like Weird Al Yankovic. Like I like all music, but if I'm in the mood for something that hits me right, I'm looking for that. It's like when you go get a familiar meal. Why wouldn't I just eat my favorite meal every single day? I could watch The Office or Seinfeld on repeat all day long.
Yeah.
When I go on long trips, I throw on Seinfeld. I don't even have to look at the screen because I just know like. But I latch on to things. If I like something, I like it a lot. It's a big reason why I've never been interested in drinking because I know if I find a drink I like, I might like it a lot. But because I'm also a person that doesn't really have strong emotions, I'm not really happy or sad or whatever. If those emotions get to like a 10, yes. But other than that, I don't. So how do I know that if I start drinking, Will I be an angry drunk? Will I be a happy, fun drunk? I don't know, and I'd just rather not find out.
Oh, there's a wide spectrum
Oh yeah.
on that road. Yeah,
So
I'm familiar with that road, and that's where a lot of those same sort of characteristics for me came from. I mean, I haven't had
right.
a drink now in 24 years, but that's prior to that. Those were a lot of those
Yeah.
same things. That chameleon attitude to sort of blend in with people, blend into your
Right.
surroundings, and kind of give people what they wanted to hear, whether it was genuine or not. And
Yeah.
usually it wasn't.
And I
But it was just more of a survival
right.
mechanism than anything.
Right. And I got good at it because we moved around the military. So you get
Yeah.
good. And if I was doing poorly at one place, when I went to it's like I got to start over again. Okay, let me try this strategy and see
Hmm.
how this works and stuff like that. But when I got to the point where, like I said, I got tested for autism. She basically said, you're close enough to where if you went and told people you were on the spectrum, I wouldn't fight you on it. I just can't diagnose you because we're
Yeah.
missing that piece.
Yeah, it is difficult. Yeah, my boy has been through a few years journey that he just recently in the past 2 months got officially diagnosed.
Right.
It's a big gauntlet, like you
Yeah.
said, that they want to test.
And then also there's enough overlap with other things. So when I mentioned like I don't really have those strong emotions, I was doing Google some WebMD searching and all that stuff, and I came
Mhm.
across
That's always a good idea at 2 a.m. Yeah.
right. But I came across alexithymia, which is kind of like it's like a lack of feeling and emotion, just for layman, just the short, brief
Hmm.
version of it. But I started reading it, and I was like, okay, that sounds a lot like me. Like I don't get hungry, I don't get thirsty. Like it's like I could eat. Like yesterday, I ate and I could feel I had nothing left in here, but I didn't feel full. I felt like I could just kind of keep going. But if I
Well,
don't
but
think
but
about
but
food,
I'm sure just like you talked about the hyper focus. I mean that those are right when you're either working on your whether it be the
right,
training regimen or into music or gaming, right? That those are the times where you say I haven't had an appetite and I haven't eaten in 10 hours.
right. So and then like and then I start noticing these things, and then like you said, you start thinking back. Okay, in third grade, my dad got out of the military, and I'm thinking like, oh my god, I can actually like we're not going to move. I'm going to
Hmm.
actually see friends for more than like 6 months to a year, and then we were there for less than a year, and we got right back in the military. And it's like I still remember the moment I was upset with them when they told me, and I said, I'm just never going to even have friends ever again. Why would I even bother? It does. We're just going to move again. And I remember that like it was
I
yesterday.
don't have a degree on the wall, my friend, but that's a pretty pivotal moment to
Right,
me.
right.
To
Uh,
sort of like deep down, it's like, well, I'm not going to make an attachment
right.
because at some point they're going to go away.
Right. And then if you if you were to ask my parents, I'm sure they could vouch for there were times where I'd have to go to the school nurse because I would be super sleepy and tired and drained because I was dehydrated. I'm not thinking about food. If I go
Yeah.
work out in the yard from 6 a.m. to midnight, I don't think for a second about food and drink. And I don't even feel thirsty or I don't feel thirsty or hungry. I feel the effects of it. I start to feel like the little shakes or that like that I want to just fall asleep feeling. But like I said, but once I start, I don't know how to stop. Well, I don't want to say I don't know how to stop. I don't know when to stop because I never feel. So it goes beyond just like, oh, I'm happy or sad, or I just know I'm happy or sad. But
Yeah.
then I'll explain to them like, man, if that piece of music hits me just right, or like you see a sad scene where a dog dies in a movie, I'll have like this swelling up of emotion. I'm like, oh my god, I'm about to cry. What the hell's going? And then right
Well,
as it hits its
it's
peak,
your it's a vehicle for you to touch into those
right.
feelings, right? So it's
So
somebody in my life, I'm not going to get upset, but like you said, that you give me a car commercial with a dad and a daughter, and all of a
because
sudden now I'm in tears.
I think what it is I can't necessarily relate to that myself, but I can relate to I'm happy that other people get to experience that. Oh, I don't know. Like I told people like you see the old man running down the football field and they're like fake tackling him and everybody's like, oh my God, like I love that for him.
Or
But
the yeah
I would
the autistic seventh grader
right.
like they give him the football and they
Yeah,
let
yeah.
him go score a touchdown. And it's like, oh Lord.
But if you put me in that situation as a 90-year-old and I'm just like, oh cool, yeah, you let me score. Who cares? I want you to truck me. I like to feel like I earn things. So I can't relate to that, but I can relate
Yeah.
to how it probably makes them feel, and I love that. So like, but what'll happen is it swells up to like a 10, and I feel like, oh my god, I'm about to just burst out crying, and then I have like this flush feel, and then it's back to feeling nothing again. With the stress and anxiety, if it gets to a 10, if I can't settle it down, it my blood pressure will drop and I'll pass out. So what I'm trying to mitigate with the medication and stuff I'm talking And oddly, the more I've been looking into this, the worse it's made it, because now I'm aware of it. And now I'm aware that it might not be something within my control. It's kind of like, this may not be factual, but it's like maybe you have somebody who gets a cancer diagnosis, but maybe they didn't know, and maybe they live a better life not knowing than finding out, if that kind of makes sense.
I completely understand that. I mean, that's why some people will even, they may know their diagnosis, but they don't share it with their family, because they just, once you cross that Rubicon, like, then everything changes.
Right.
So,
and it's not even just
to a
you
degree,
knowing,
if they didn't have that knowledge, they would just sort of continue on,
right.
on a certain path.
Right. So now okay. So now that I got that, I even sent the entire report over to the DRA, and that email changes said, "Hey, this is where I'm at in the update." Even though I'm probably giving them way more medical information than they need, I'm just trying to give them all the information they need to make a proper decision. And then that was in April, and they never even responded to me. Okay, so it takes months and months to get in for the full broad test. I finally got something coming up in November. And there's two things, going back to when you were asked, well, how are you feeling right after you win? I was probably thinking, oh my God, I have my testing on November 3rd and November 19th. So I need to make sure the Grand Slam is not covered, because I've been waiting for months for this.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it's like snug right in between. But I was also thinking, okay, I'm going to have some time to go get this testing, test some medication, and then I got Worlds, and I'm going to be good to go. But now I have the stress of, oh God, I was not expecting to have to play in 2 weeks. And I was freaking out a little bit on the stage, after the win. You guys are waiting to bring me.
Yeah. It's all now.
It's like, oh God.
It's all clicking. And
yeah.
so, have you, in addition to the medication, I'm certainly not not a crunchy guy, but I do believe in, some homeopathic things, in addition to the medication. I do believe in, two separate things. I was going to bring up meditation, which I'll talk about, but I also do believe in diet, and the way we treat our bodies can have a great impact in the way our body reacts.
Yeah, and I think part of it, I've gone up. Fortunately, I built my weight very uniformly, so I don't want to say fortunately. It's more like I don't notice when I put it on, and until I walk up a flight of steps, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like there's no way I should. And then I realize, and I look at the scale, and I'm like, oh, I'm chubby again. And then I can lose it. I can lose it and gain it pretty quickly. One, because like I said, I don't get full, so I can just easily just kind of keep going and not think about it. But two, I have a history of being an athlete. It's very easy for me to just go out there and go for a walk or a jog. But then I've been so busy the last year that I've had, other than like being up and playing, I've had no real it's like a desk job in a way.
Well, not only that, I mean more from a sort of nutrition standpoint,
that too. Yeah.
Like it's something simple, but something I realized a few years ago, going out to the CDC weekends, and, we'd be up, tournament doesn't finish until, 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and we've got to, do whatever we got to do. And now all of a sudden, it's 11:45 and we're trying to look for something to eat. And, my regular eating patterns were what they were. So I'm going to get a bacon cheeseburger from Wendy's, because it's the only thing open till 2. And then we're going to stop at the 7-Eleven, and I'm going to get a Dr. Pepper and something sweet. Right. And then for the life of me, I wonder why at 7:15, when we got to get up for the next day's tournament, I've got a pounding headache. I feel like junk. It's because I've got all of that, salt and sugar running through my body. So, those are the things that I, started to be more conscious of. That, after a certain time of the evening, stay away from, high sugar items, or high, even salt. The salt will get the blood pressure moving, and you're just not going to feel good from it.
Right. When I was when I worked at Lowe's Hardware, it looked like the NASA control room. It was, just like a monitoring situation, but I was sitting down for 12 and a half hours a day. So I had a massage subscription, and I also went to the gym 2 hours a day, even, 4 hours a day when I was off, because I needed to offset that sedentary life at my job. And here I'm so on the go that it's tough. So I did back out of the TOC leagues and stop playing a lot of the EDC stuff. And it's because, like I said, I needed to figure out, what do I enjoy? What do I not enjoy? What's worth my time? What's not worth my time? Just because I enjoy something, if I'm not getting the return on it, I got to cut something out. So now that I'm freeing up some of my time, I also need to free up my time to take care of me. Because we got salads and stuff like that. But when I'm on the go so much, and you come home and it's like you said, it's 10 o'clock and you're like, God damn it, I forgot to run by the store. And or like at Pac-Man last weekend, we didn't finish the draws until 2-3 in the morning, and like the only decent option near me was like Del Taco, you know. And
Yeah.
if you're trying to eat right, but then here's my thing is,
Well,
okay,
it's not even about eating right, because I'm not, it's not like eliminating everything, but it's being conscious of, of what I'm going to put in at what times. Like, I'm totally into a great, give me, I'll do a Big Mac and large fries and stuff at 3 PM because I know I'm going to have enough time to process it. And
right.
But it takes a lot of work to even go into that scenario and say, I know I'm going to be stuck at, a time that's much later, and I need to prepare for that. But it's
Right.
it's difficult to do.
Yeah. So, and then what I do, and I can't help it, is like, well, if I have another busy day tomorrow, and it worked out that way, I made 10 straight finals. So there was literally no breaks, and I'm eating once a day, and it's at 3 AM. So I'm eating like 2 meals in one. I'm over ordering because I'm like, well, I might not eat until tomorrow. So I'm trying to get all my calories in at once, and I'm doing that right before bed. It's bad. So I'm working on that. And two, hopefully my wife brought home, I did research, like if I could get one piece of equipment for the house that makes the most effective use of my time, like a elliptical or whatever. The unanimous opinion online was a rower. So her sister, who is about to have a baby, ain't going to be using her rower anytime soon.
The
I'm
rowers,
going to use it. I hear it's a full body workout.
the
So
rowers coming to Spellman's house. But I
yeah,
mean, everybody used to give, make fun of Barney and his bananas and stuff. But to me, those are the sorts of things where, like, yeah, if a player at your level, you're going to expect to go far in each of those events, right? So it's a case of literally having that knapsack that has,
right,
some Hershey bars, some bananas, some other sort of protein items, and taking those small moments in between matches or events,
right,
and filling your body up with fuel in smaller portions, because it's going to go much longer. Like,
right.
most of what you would eat, even if you doubled up at 3 AM and said, all right, I'm going to have, double what I would, it's going to be processed out, right? It's going to,
Yeah,
by
yeah, yeah.
1 o'clock the next day, it's not going to be doing you any good. Whereas, along that way, if it's like, hey, I just want a match, I know I've got at least 5 to 10 minutes.
And
Let me have
I,
a
I could
banana
have eaten.
protein bar.
I could have eaten at a regular time at the venue, but one of the criticisms I definitely have was they had sandwich boxes at Pac-Man, that it was, a turkey, or it's like one of those pre-made boxes when you go to like
Yeah.
a conference or whatever. You get a sandwich, you get a bag of chips, an apple, and a drink. They had those for $49. And I
Goodness
was like,
gracious. Oh, yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. Like, yeah, the offerings at most
yeah,
tournaments are not
I,
gonna be great fare. It's fries and pizza. That's what I'm saying. It really
yeah,
does take an effort,
it,
to, you get into town, and I know most players and most staff, quite honestly, I know
right.
what the staff goes through. We're all on, razor thin margins, but
Oh yeah,
sometimes
you're trying
it's
to
worth
budget,
the effort to stop at Walmart and,
right?
fill yourself up for the weekend with stuff.
And you're trying to budget, and so you say, okay, well, I do need to get something, and you're like, well, I can either get a burger for $5 or I can get a chicken Caesar salad for 20. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's also hard to make decisions on
Well, but
eating
that's
better.
all
Like,
right. All right. It's the last time I'll mention it, but yeah, exactly. When you touch down at 3 PM on Friday,
yeah.
get to Target or
Oh yeah,
or
yeah,
Walmart, and you get your stuff for the weekend, bring it back to your room, and But
yeah. I did that. I did that at Pac-Man. I went to the Target, was going to grab some like salad stuff and whatever, and then I get back to the room, and well, there's no fridge, so I instead of
well,
it going bad, I just ate it.
okay.
Just like
We'll table the nutrition stuff. So the
there's
other
some
thing I
places
definitely
that,
want to recommend, though, because I'm a
oh yeah,
big believer in it, is meditation. I think if you pursue, or I would recommend,
I
looking
think,
into meditation, because it will be a great regulator for your breathing, your heart rate, and the anxiety.
oh
Just
yeah, I'm sure.
just to learn to take a moment and make it a regular part of
Yep.
your day, because
And
then it becomes routine. It becomes part of who you are.
right. And then depending on when I talk to this guy in mid-November, if he says, okay, well, you're not this, you're this, let's try this. If it gets me focused on, where I'm paying attention that I'm not eating it. Because like I said, it's not that I'm avoiding it. I just literally don't think about it.
No, I can attest to that. I will tell people, no, it's not. It's not a conscious decision. It's a complete hyper focus. Because
Right.
we experience that on the other side. You guys and gals are on the Aki playing, right? But then behind the desk and you score. You're doing all this processing stuff, tournament, and same thing. We'll look up and be like, it's been 10 and a half hours before I put anything, before I had a bite to eat, or even sometimes even something to drink, some water. It's just a hyper focus, and
Yes.
it's like, well, why am I cramping at night? Because I have not had any water.
Right. This is why I love my wife being at tournaments with me, because she'll bring me food, she'll bring me water, and then I'm much better about it. And she packs me snacks, and I eat them when on the trip up.
Yeah.
But once I'm there, I'm so focused on what I'm doing, and I do have a lot of people that they come talk and all this stuff. I just don't think about it. So she makes the effort for me, and I really appreciate that. But to kind of finish up, the whole process of what I was going through was, okay, so I go on the 19th to figure it out. I'm gonna just have to. So they gave me something I can use around the time I play, events that obviously I can't take or disallowed substances. It's hydroxyzine. It's just a sedative. Apparently, I took one and it did nothing. I took two because the first
two is better than one. Yeah,
I took the first time I took one, or sorry, the first 2 times I took one, it did nothing. And then the third time when I took two, oh my God, it worked. But I don't know how it worked as far as stress and anxiety. All I know is that I felt high as a kite. It took me a couple seconds to answer your questions, because it just, I was slow. And because like I said, it's a sedative. So that's all I'm going to have. So if I'm giving an interview at the Grand Slam and I just seem a little slow, you'll know why. I'll think that I'm moving at a regular speed, but anyway. But I was going to say, after I go get official, let's say that he's like, okay, you're not autistic. Let's say that they say, okay, you do have ADHD. That means that if they try to prescribe me Adderall or Ritalin or something like that, I'm going to have to go right through the TUE thing again. And that's just another one of those things where it's from my end, I'm trying to do everything by the book. I'm trying to do everything right. And it's annoying that I'm having to jump through this hoops when I have 2 or 3 potential psychiatrists saying, no, you're on the right medication. And my regular doctor says it too. And it still can't get approved. And then you start thinking about it from your own personal, where you get a little salty and you're like, I mean, it's honestly, somebody told me, well, you could start drinking. And I'm like, well, no, that's not going to happen. And I've seen these discussions before, because people will say, well, drinking, it's not quite the same thing. And I'm like, okay, but everybody believes it helps them. So therefore it's almost like a placebo. It's even if it doesn't help you, if you believe it does, then it does. And just because some of the other stuff is easier to dose out than the other stuff, is it really? It's okay. So I can take one little measured pill, and you got to kind of fine line. Did I take one too many drinks? If it has the same effect, just because yours is harder to maintain, is it really that much different? So from my end, I'm like, okay, this person's on this person's on this person's on this. I'm going through all these hoops to try to do the right thing. And again, this is just me venting to myself,
it's admirable, but it's frustrating. It's it's certainly, there's never that, in my opinion, it's never wrong to try and do the right thing, but it does get frustrating when you don't get the results as quick as you think you should, and or like you say, you look at the landscape and you're like, I see other guys not. There's a lot of corners being cut here, and I'm trying to do the right thing.
It's so like I said, when you're going through these, and it's just like for a year and a half, 2 years later, they're like, we still need more information. And you're just, oh my God, bro. And like I said, then the first time I talked to the PDPA, they said, I think you just need to talk to a sports psychologist. And I'm like, I mean, I would be open to that, but I'm talking to you from the perspective of I'm actively getting tested for these other things. What can I do? And then, so that wasn't very helpful. So then I talked to another PDPA, and like I said, they just said, well, the worst thing you could have done was tell them, because now you potentially have a target on your back, which only makes me worry about it even more. So it's just, like I said, I think part of my dip in the game and my less than desired drive to go play over in Europe is, like I said, Jessica's in the chat. She can tell you how she probably felt when all she heard was all 300 pounds of me fall to the floor. That's not a situation that I would want to be in. So if I'm having to jump through all these hoops just for them to say no, I'm not interested in playing. I'd rather stop playing. That's why I turned down the WDF Masters. My heart wasn't in it. I didn't want to go over that. If I can't sleep, well, then I can't take my medication to help me sleep, and I'm up for a week and a half. I didn't want to feel bad. I didn't go. So I gave my spot up, even though it was a free trip. So I'm now having to make these decisions based on and that's why I want to stay here. So depending on how all this stuff goes, that's going to really determine how much I want to pursue the European, the big stuff. I just don't. I don't know. Like I said, like you said, and one of the things is, she said the biggest thud ever.
That's what I was just seeing Miss Jessica in the chat room, and I should say I do have trying to monitor the Facebook and the YouTube chat. So please, welcome everybody in, be active in there, have some fun talking, and if we get any questions, we're gonna try and tackle them. I see Andrew Van Covert in there. He brought up something that I've been a proponent of. I got turned on to this book a long time ago. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, the inner game of tennis, and it's essentially, like you plug in whatever endeavor you're in, but it's about.
Before the first bull shooter I won that morning, I had my earphones in, and I just Googled like sports affirmation type stuff, just like why not you? Why not?
Absolutely.
And whether you believe it or not, it's just so like I don't know how I'm going to handle the Grand Slam. It's because not only is there pressure of the expectations I put on myself, but I put big expectations on me based on how I performed at Worlds. But then we have expectations thanks to Stowe Bunce and how he did, and then I don't want to go
up there. Those are good though, right? Those that peer push and you want to go in and exceed that bar that's been set.
Right. I don't care if I perform poorly for me personally, because I already know I'm going to bounce back. I don't want to perform poorly and going back to a decade ago. Well, Spellman got lucky; he won the event because Savada and Stowe were the. And the thing is I'm not saying that worries me, because I don't want people saying those things. It's because I might actually kind of believe that too. Stowe and Savada were our best players. They might be the best representative we could have there. I just happened to win that event. So I don't know how, but I'm going to go into that event. I tell people, when you go up to the board after you already lost and you're annoyed and you kind of throw the darts and you just nail everything. I'm going to almost try to go into the event as though I'm terrible, I already lost, and just see if that is the right kind of de-stressor to get me through it. And if it doesn't, well, then I get another chance at it.
The perfect time to mess around and play with scenarios is the Grand Slam. I concur.
Yeah. Like I said, it's why I love Modus so much, is because if I have an off day, I can try to focus on what I did wrong and move on to the next day. If I had a great day but still kind of lost some tough matches, I don't need to change anything. I just go into the next day and hope the other guys.
I'll be back tomorrow.
So
yeah, I mean, and I think that's what, in all fairness to whatever that the PDPA rep was talking about. Not that one part of it is like dismissed, but I do think the sports psychology part of it is.
Oh yeah.
It is part of it, right? Is the process and learning and picking up those tools that just help you in that moment to see things coming and then tackle them as they come. Learning
exactly.
ways to address it.
And that stuff is things that I will absolutely pursue. I want to talk to the psychiatrist first to see what they think is going on, and then progress from there.
Right.
But
so we'll keep an eye on things, and I look forward to maybe we'll follow up in a few months to see where things have progressed in terms of what they've done officially, and like we chatted about earlier, you said these are the things that we put out there because we want other people to understand that this is part of life, this is part of the process, not only just as dart players, right, but as human beings. And make and make sure you and I are going to speak freely tonight and make sure people don't feel alienated. Because it's we all tackle challenges in one way or another.
Right. And the thing is like how I showed people those averages over time is if I'm coaching people and they're asking me, well, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? It's so much easier, it's easier for them to buy into what I'm telling them when they can see me actively going through it. And they can see that, again, I sent the guy I'm coaching the match I had against Stowe, where I said, look, the first half, not so much. And then I add 22 points to my average on the back end because I just stuck with it. Like, I need them to see it. When I started making those out videos, it was same guy, when I talked to him and I said, you got to go here. I wanted to show him why. And then when he kind of got it, I realized more people could probably use this information. So this is another situation. If I go up at the Grand Slam and I have the worst performance in the history of the Grand Slam, but then I show up at the World Championships and I smash in a ton plus average, win the first round, that shows them that you can recover from an embarrassing experience like that. And if there's anybody that can show them how to do that, I feel like it's me. I can. That bounce back is the one superpower that I have. I'd never get down on myself personally.
That's great, and use that, and always lead with that. And I think it's extremely powerful. A certain peer-to-peer analysis, and I don't know how to explain it, but I'll put it this way. I'm involved in a certain 12-step program, and there's nothing's more effective than that one-on-one, peer-to-peer conversation that you could tell that somebody's been through it, and they've been through it, and they're going to explain to you how they walk through it. Right. Nobody on the outside is going to be able to instill in you that, this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do, and yada, yada. And it takes that one-on-one, just like you're talking about, to say, hey, this is the challenge in front of you. I've seen it, and this is what I did to get through it. And that's very impactful.
Yeah. And I always I set them up to be I don't want to be the coach that's like, man, if you listen to me, you're going to be amazing. I tell them, you might not be. I don't want to set you up for fail. I don't want to set you up to expect failure, but to expect failures along the way to success. It's like I said, every time I screw up, I use it as an opportunity to, one, better myself, but then use it to show somebody else. I had an hour-long coaching session where it was just somebody saying, is it normal for me to do this? Is it normal if this happens? And it was an hour of me saying yes, but then not just saying like, oh, yeah, no, that's normal, and then move on. It was, yes, that's normal. Here's a video clip of somebody else doing that. And not just me, but like an MVG or a Littler or somebody that they really believe. Because I tell them, you might get amazing coaching advice from somebody who's actually a terrible player, and you won't trust it. You won't buy into it because you're judging their quality. Yeah. You might get terrible advice from a really great player, but you're like, oh, you're great, so you must know what you're talking about. Like, how do you sift through that? So
Not necessarily so.
Like I said, I want to teach people how to sift through information to figure out what works for them, but then again, give them realistic outlooks on what to expect from themselves and all that.
So you touched on earlier about traveling a lot, not traveling, but moving a lot as a youth. Based on, was it your dad in the military?
Yeah, he's actually Teddy there in the chat. He we were all in the military. We actually kind of reconnected after a while. He's busy, and me, like I said, if I got tunnel vision, I could not talk to somebody for 2 or 3 years, and for some reason it just doesn't bother me.
But when you connect, it's like time has just passed.
Yeah. So
if I honestly feel something, if you're a friend, or if I care about you, then it doesn't matter if I haven't spoken to you in 18
I'm
months,
sure if
2 years,
think
it's going to come back.
There's people out there, if you think I've forgotten about you, I probably still check in at least maybe even once a week on just your Facebook, just see how you're doing. Sure. I don't reach out. I don't I'm not the guy that when I enter the dart hall, I go around saying, hey man, how's it going? I'm kind of like, one, again, the whole social anxiety thing, and I feel it just makes me feel uncomfortable. But two, I just saw you like 3 days ago at the last tournament. Like,
yeah. So, I mean, does, I was going to ask, how you started playing, and, what kind of things were your dad into? Because, a lot of us, picked up darts by, the parents playing, or, what kind of influences were around you growing up?
So always played sports, always was obsessed with being perfect and doing well. It drove me crazy. A lot of the coaches I had growing up were not conducive to my personal success, because I need to understand why things happen. And I bring this up in my coaching. It's if I'm out and if I'm in the outfield and I lose a ball because the sun was in my eyes, like literally, if I come in and tell the coach the sun was in my eyes, and he's like, I don't want to hear excuses, get your ass out there, blah. But I wasn't giving an excuse. I was trying to understand why it happened. So I tell my people, if you just say, hey, the sun was in my eyes, and then you do nothing about it, that's an excuse. If I say the sun was in my eyes and I go out there with a big visor and some sunglasses, I understand what
I'd
happened.
rather you, coach me up a bit. Like I'm coming to you with something. So now lead me in a direction that I'm going to be more successful next time.
Right. So the first high school I went to, I was one of, if not the better basketball player on the team. But because my coach made me so terrified of me, you made one mistake, you're on the bench. And because I is like Tourette's of the mouth. I had to explain why I made the mistake. I don't want to hear it. Well, I would keep going back at him because no, I need you to understand why I made the mistake, and I need your help and what I can do. It didn't matter, and it just made me like, okay, you're out for the whole game, and it would frustrate me. Or just like I was 6 foot, I was already like 6'2", 6'3" in sixth grade, so I'm playing rec league basketball, and I would get thrown out of the games because I'd block a kid from a foot away. I could have had a baseball bat and still wouldn't have hit the kid, but I blocked the ball and they'd call a foul on me, and I couldn't.
You couldn't just leave it alone. You couldn't just walk away. It's the foul. Let the kid throw his free throw, and then you're.
If I clothesline you, if I clothesline you accidentally, I'll call my own foul. I don't care. It's just a game. But if I don't touch you and I'm about to foul out of the game because the ref is, I don't know, they feel bad for the kid, I couldn't help it. I'd get in the ref's face and be like, "Are you serious?" And I would use as a ninth grader, I would use a lot of expletives because it's like the frustration would boil over.
Because Alex needs to right the wrong.
Oh my God. I don't do that in darts, but in basketball growing up, it was a lot. And I couldn't, again, if I fouled you, oh yeah, that was me. I'll be the first to admit it. You remember that old commercial of the kid where it's like the ball goes out on him and the kids are like, no, don't tell the ref. Like, I don't know. The whole thing was the kid had to be honest. It's like championship game or something like that. And he's like, the ball went out on me, ref, and the whole thing was about being honest. That was me. I couldn't help it. It's
honest to a fault.
I just literally can't help it. But yeah. So grew up playing sports. We had a dartboard. I didn't know what the hell the rules were. I know at one point when we lived in Colorado Springs, I was in sixth grade. We had a dartboard downstairs. On the backside was the baseball diamond. I was obsessed with baseball at the time. I'd have an official scorer's book. I'd write in the Braves lineup and then whoever they were playing that night. Maybe it was the Rockies or something. I don't know. And I would just play a 9-inning baseball game on my dartboard. But then after a while, I got bored of it because, well, the center cork was wood, and then there's like a surrounding square that was a grand slam. Well, of course I'm going to shoot for a grand slam, but I hit the grand slam every time. So it just got boring. I did not know at the time I had a talent for darts, and I wish I did because I was only in sixth grade.
Yeah.
But I got bored of it, so I stopped playing. And then I had that set of darts still. And in college, I was hanging out with my biological father and my uncle at a bar in college. And the guys in I didn't even notice them playing darts over there. Said, "Hey, we need an extra person." And I was like, "I've played before. I can play." And I think I got first or second that night, and then I never stopped playing. And it wasn't because I love darts. It was because I just made more money in one night playing darts than I did working 8 hours for $7.25 an hour at Food Lion. And
I've seen. I mean, there were. I'm not going to name names, but I knew guys in New York that they didn't necessarily love the game. They were just good at it. They were effective at it.
Some of the guys here, local in Cary, in Raleigh, I would talk to them. Say if I had a drive to win, if I had the motivate, because this isn't just a darts thing. Like when I was I would move schools, and sometimes transcripts and like if you're in high level math, well, maybe that doesn't translate over. So we moved to a base or Fort Carson in Colorado, and they put me in like regular level math, but I was already in like high end algebra, and I was failing the class because I just didn't care. Like, this is easy. I'm not even going to waste my time doing this work. I literally had to beg the principal or whoever it was, the counselor, to say, please put me in the high end math. And they were like, bro, you're like failing regular math. And I was like, yeah, because I don't care.
Because I'm just
but when they put me in, I raised it to an 8. In college, the only class I failed was accounting 1. And that was because it's just adding and subtracting. Like, how hard can this be? So I focused all my attention into the classes that I cared about and were really difficult. And when I came back to take my accounting exam, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, because it really does build on itself. And so I dropped out of the class. And then when I took it the next time, I got a 98 in it. So as long as I focused, I was good. So this isn't a darts thing. It's just if the attention isn't there. So when I talked to somebody and said, look, they called me an idiot for saying this. But I said, the more darts I play, the worse I am, because I kind of get zoned out. The better I'm playing, like I tell them it's like playing a game on your phone. Like you're kind of addicted to it and you're doing
Mhm.
good, but then at a certain point when you've done it too much or it gets too easy, you just kind of put it away and you want to do something else.
Yeah,
And that
and
might
then you
happen.
realize all of a sudden, you're like, "Wow, I haven't played such and such in, like, 6 months."
Right. And so as soon as I stopped playing some of those things, I almost immediately started playing better in the things that actually mattered to me. Uh, but it's been up and down. Like you said, you start learning things about yourself, and then you look into the past, and you're like, oh, I just thought that was me. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? Like I've never seen family as family. Like every time we'd go like see my cousins, I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to like you because like we're related or something. Like, not that I didn't
I
dislike them,
that
but I just
that
never
kills me
understood.
just, yeah, I see people at Thanksgiving, and I'm like, I I I have you I have no ill will for you, but
Right.
I don't know you. Like, I
Like, we
see
can
you
have a
once a
great time
year.
hanging
I'm
out, but, like,
related
I'm
to
not
you,
gonna
but I don't.
like, I feel bad too because like, I'll talk to certain family members, and at the end of the call, they'll be like, "I love you," and I'll be like, "Alright, see ya."
Be well, take care.
But because I feel I can't fake that. I just and I kinda refuse to be honest. Like, I just don't feel,
Oh, Lord.
you know, and I
Oh,
and
God.
and I hate it because I know it might make me look a certain way to certain people, but I'm not gonna if they really ask me, like, "Why are you such a dick?" I'm gonna be like, "I swear to God, I don't mean anything by it. I feel
I'm
uncomfortable
not
saying those."
I'm not disputing that I may not be one, but I'm not
Right,
intending to be one.
right. But it's weird. But like so when I talk to these people and because I talked to Jessica not too long ago, where I'm like, well, how do they know that like that you're just over exaggerating what like platonic love might be between like two best friends or something like that? And I'm like, because I have never felt for a person the way I feel for my dogs. Like I love my dogs. Like they're basically my children. And I love them in a non-romantic way, obviously, or maybe not obviously. I guess I have to say that out loud. But they're just I've cried over losing a dog. I have never even I've shed a tear only over one person that's ever died, and that was not because they passed. It was because of who they were and how they did. So
Mhm.
we had a kid on October 2006. He was like the kid that like volunteered to work at like soup kitchens in high school,
Yeah.
whatever. But he was made the honorary homecoming football team captain, and he died of a heart attack on the field during the homecoming football
Oh,
game.
terrible.
And we weren't as close of friends then, but in middle school I went to that school district, then I moved away, then I came back for high school. So we kind of reconnected, but in middle school, he was the only person we go play baseball with him and my dad. I don't know if he remembers Fermin, uh, but uh, uh, but no, but it was like the impact of who that person was and how
Yeah.
he didn't deserve that. That hit me. Not
Yeah.
the fact, like I said, it's I could lose one of I could, no offense, or like knock on wood, whatever. Somebody that we're close to working on the CDC, and I'd just be like, man, that sucks. Or
That's
like if you
trauma.
said, I just found out that so and so, has cancer or whatever. I hate it because I feel really bad for you up here, but
Mhm.
here I don't know how to react to that. I'm just like, well, that sucks. And I have to try to say it in a way that doesn't sound like I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, because I
Oh,
do.
I do. Trust me. This is a process that I've been going through for a long time, and it's a learned process that you certainly you have to work at. And
Yeah,
I was laughing at I relate to that idea of like not wanting to be disingenuous, but overly so, like feeling like you're lying or fibbing.
right.
I'd stand in the card aisle on Mother's Day and read cards and go like, do I really feel that way about my mother? And I'd have to
Right.
put the card back. I'm like, if there was one little thing in the card, it's like, that's not really how I feel. And I'd have to keep
Right.
getting
And
to a
and
card that I could sign off on.
and like my wife, uh, he, we've gotten to the point where we don't get each other gifts or anything for Christmases. Or I mean, we kind of do if like something cool pops up, but like most of the time we do like experiences, like trips and things like that instead. Because I used to do like handwritten card. I couldn't find a card like
Hmm.
and I do handwritten cards and stuff like that. But then it got to a point where I'm like, I just I want to give you something real, like authentic, like something that means something. I don't want to give you a card because I'm supposed to, you know, just like
Every woman's whispering right now. Yeah, continue with the handwritten cards. Like
I
that's it.
know, I know, but you know what? We understand. But you know what? She doesn't get me handwritten cards. So, but
Because you're
but
a guy, you don't need one.
we still like we save the ones. I think I have one actually in here, in my little side desk from like when we were very early on. So like that stuff still means something to me. But for me, it's like I said, it's just like going back to like the Packers beanie. Like, I love it. I wear them to death, but I wouldn't gift that to you. And if I try to explain why, it's going to make you feel bad because you're like, so you're just saying, I don't know what to get Spellman. Yeah, whatever. He likes the Packers. Just grab the socks, whatever. You know, like look, we kind of make fun of Jessica's grandmother because she'll get you like, in your stocking, it'll be like Q-tips and other like real little knickknacks. But you know what? The little tire gauge she put in there one time, I used the hell out of that thing, you know? and anytime anybody does anything for me, I super appreciate it. But it also makes me feel uncomfortable. If you lend me $1, I feel like I have to lend you $2. You know, and so I don't, even the Patreon I started, it was supposed to help support me take time to do other things.
Now you feel guilty taking people's money.
Right. So now I'm doing things like, I just raffled off a trip to the World Championships with me. I'm going to cover your flight. You get to come into the VIP. And because I don't know if the PDC is weird about that stuff, I just made it to where there's no money. There's no entry. It's just, if you were a supporter of me, you get one entry, and I'm doing this on my own dime. I'm not, whatever. I can't help it. It makes me feel uncomfortable if I'm in debt to somebody. Even if they all understand they're supporting me to do the things that I'm trying to do on the educational side of stuff.
Yep.
I can't help it. It just makes me feel uncomfortable. So like they get little sneak peeks of things. Like tomorrow, I'm looking at a new jersey design for next year. And so tomorrow I'm going to post some stuff, and they're going to help me decide what I'm going to do. So it may not be monetary stuff like the trips, but they at least get to help shape, who I am and what I'm doing and all that.
So when you head to you brought up the PDC in the Worlds, it makes me think of you've got a really great walk-on song. It's a mash between Metallica and Stevie Wonder, Sad But Superstitious. Now I assume you've brought up Metallica earlier, so
right.
That's how you come to that song. Is that I can't recall. Did you have that song a couple of years ago at the Worlds? And is that something that they can green light because it's a mash?
So there's a couple of things with that. So I knew I wanted something Metallica because I want to choose something that's me. Whether the crowd likes it or not my problem. I want something that represents me. The same reason that like when I made my jerseys, everybody was like, why did you go with the Egyptian stuff? Okay, well, when I was a kid, I wanted to either be an astronomer or like paleontology, archaeology kind of stuff. That's just what I love. I've got, little figurines all over the place. Like, that's just what I do. But I didn't want anything dart related on my jersey. I wanted it something that represented me. So again, with the walk-on song, same thing. Now I tried to go through like, okay, well, what song could be interesting? Like, obviously there's the obvious, like Enter Sandman and whatever, but I picked initially Frayed Into Sanity because at the beginning there's like the Wizard of Oz OEO chant. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a chant that they could use. And then I started thinking like, what if I did like Whiskey in the Jar, because that's based off of, some Irish pub songs and stuff like that. And I was like, but that's not really my vibe. So,
oh God, come on. I know it. Oh my God. I'm sure in the chat. Whiskey in the Jar is an Irish band. Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, there's Thin Lizzy, and then they took it off something. I guess it goes back a while.
Yeah,
but yeah. So I thought about doing that, and maybe I could if I ever go play in like Ireland or something. I'll do Whiskey in the Jar, just something that's more. Mm-hmm. Then I started thinking like, what if I did it more like based on my opponent? Like if I mentioned in one of the online darts chats with like Phil Barr, like, if I was going to play Mervyn King, I would play Metallica's King Nothing or something like that. Just kind of like an old, like wrestling. I never watched wrestling, but obviously something like that. But then I started thinking, okay, the PDC wants something that's a little bit more upbeat. So if I want to go with the Egyptian theme, I could go Creeping Death, but I don't know if the PDC wants the crowd chanting die during the part that I would play. But so I came across that. Everybody knows Superstitious from Stevie Wonder. Most people know Sad But True, maybe. And so I was like, and the mashup just flows perfect. And I was like, this is a way where I get what I want, but it's still upbeat and fun for the crowd. And what's interesting is I planned on doing the video I made where I played my walk-on before you guys even announced that you were going to do the battle of the walk-ons or whatever. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. Because if I win, I'm going to celebrate the win by playing it. And if I lose, I want to be like, yeah, but these guys can't play theirs, so it worked out perfect. But I plan to do that anyway. But
how many times have you seen Metallica?
A dozen or so. The one, it wasn't the best quality because I didn't get to pick my seat because it was a lottery. But so back in '98, they had the S&M concert where they played with the San Francisco Symphony.
The orchestra, yeah.
I wasn't. Well, I was going to say I wasn't old enough. I was only 10, but I wasn't a Metallica fan.
Wait. When?
It was like
in 98?
I was only 10 in 98.
Good
I know.
Lord, man.
I know. So, but the one that they redid years back in San Francisco, the S&M 2, I got to go to that one. So that one was fun. But I was going to say, I can get them to play the Sad But Superstitious. I think it just annoys them because it's not something they can just pull up on Spotify. They have to like actually pull up a file. So I think when I played at MSG last year, they just played my normal Frayed Ends of Sanity because I guess they just couldn't be bothered to play the MP3, which is fine. But
give everybody an insight. How does that process work? Like, do they ask you to submit like a couple of songs, a couple of choices, and like what when do you find out what they're going to use? And
it's been a while, but it was pretty forward. Like, what do you want to use? And I sent it to them. When I wanted to change it to this, they asked, well, how, like, is it on Spotify? And then I just basically had to create a Google Drive, send the link over to them. And so it's pretty simple.
Yeah, which you did for us back in the cross border. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the same thing. Speaking of like the process stuff, I haven't had time yet because I want to make sure it's not going to be a high production stuff. I'm not trying to make anything super polished because I don't want to come off as like a production. I want to just be a normal person making informational stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to take the time to show your average person what it's like going through. And I've got permission both from Flight Faction as well as Winmore to go through that beginning to end process of, okay, I just got sponsored. Let's start with some jersey ideas and how that evolves over time to a finished product. I was waiting for the finished product from the Winmore Dart, so I had them in hand so that I could go from here's the initial to to what we got. Now, when I make that video, you're going to see where they said that I was the most involved person in the darts process they've ever had. And
if anybody's listened to any part of this show, they're not going to be shocked at that.
So it's but not like in a I was bugging them way. It was more like I needed to visually see the ideas I had. So I would make Microsoft Paint. I would take screenshots of there and I would like cut and paste. And I made like 12 sets of darts so I could visually see them. And I'd send them over to them and say, hey, like I wanted their opinion too. What do you think would sell? Because like I need to throw them, but they're the ones putting up the money. So I need them to turn a profit or at least make some of that money back. So you tell me what you think would sell. So or like even when we went to the weights, I said, okay, I want to throw 22s, but if you feel like there's another weight that will sell better, sell them in that weight. And then you can just custom make, my own set. So, but I want to make a video that goes through all the process of all this stuff. One, because there's going to be a lot of people that never get to experience that. And then there's going to be a lot of people that will get to experience that. And maybe it kind of gives them some ideas for what they could do, going forward.
That sounds very, very cool. And speaking of your darts, our great sponsors as well. Winmore, we've got a set of those. We're going to do a contest coming up, so you can win a set of Alex Spellman signature darts from Winmore. So when you get to the Worlds and you're in that atmosphere, or you're cross border with us and Continental Cup, any of these staged events, is it and you talked about your jerseys and the moniker now, the Jackal. Is there some sense of being able to, be behind a facade to, is it easier to deal with people in that setting as opposed to, trying to, avoid the neighbors at the mailbox? But
yeah, for some reason,
you're on a professional level now.
For some reason, when I walk into like a dart room, that there's no actual social anxiety there, at least as far as I can tell. It's weird. And I think it's because I want to be available to everybody. And because I want that means I'm comfortable with it. And therefore I don't want to have the conversations with my neighbor. Not that I don't like them. It's just like I don't even have anything to say. And then they're going to ask, what do you do for a living? I'm going to say I play darts. And they're going to be like, oh, that's weird. And then they're going to have a whole even just getting my hair cut, I've learned now when they're like, oh, what are you in town for? And I'm just like, I'm just visiting. Like when I went to Brownsburg to get my hair cut, I mentioned one time I was like, oh, I live in Cary or I live in Raleigh. And she's like, oh, I own the store down in Holly Springs. And I'm like, oh, that's actually, okay, well, I actually live in Fuquay Varina, which is right next to Holly Springs. And so that starts a whole thing. But then when I mentioned, oh, I play darts, they want to understand, oh, is that a thing? How does that work? So like I said, now I'm just visiting friends.
Yep.
Just throw a boy back.
Exactly, Alex. Exactly. And by the way, Carrie, as my ex father-in-law would always tell me, they lived in Wendell, which is outside of Raleigh, but Carrie stood for Consolidated Area of Retired Yankees.
And then I've heard that one, and then I've also heard the containment area for relocated Yankees.
There you
So,
go. But
yeah.
yeah, I feel your pain with the hair cutter. Did you have a good weekend? What'd you do? And I'm like, I was okay, and I could care less about what you did, so I'm not even going to ask you.
I could be getting an hour-long haircut, and if she's asking me questions, I have no problem answering them. But the second she stops talking, there's no give back. Which I know
no.
awkward,
I will not inquire about your whereabouts because I do not care.
Right. And yeah, so it's weird. But I used to think that this was like just me, like normal. Everybody does this, and then you start figuring out these little things that you do, like even talking to the lady. She's like, "Do you have any like tics or behaviors or anything?"
Yep.
And I was like, "Well, I don't have like routine, like I have to get up at this time and do this, but I have like little things where." When I get bored, like if I'm playing a game and I get bored, if it says loading, I just sit there and I just trace loading in cursive on my phone. Because for some reason, growing up, I loved handwriting. When my friends would come across, I try to see whose name is the most fun to write in cursive. Or I'll sit there and my tick, I guess, if you want to call it that, is just I'm constantly like signing stuff in the air, and I probably look like an idiot while I'm doing it. And
it's all a comfort and a coping mechanism, and that isn't necessarily bad. It's
no. I don't see it as bad. I'm just I only identify them because I'm like, well, if you're looking for things I do all the time that are a bit like, Jessica always has to smack me because I'm constantly doing this with my leg. And I'm telling her, I'm like, it's because it feels comfortable. Like it feels more, I feel so stiff if I'm just sitting here. Or like I used to sit, like if I was on the couch, I'd sit more like this, in the corner. And she's like, why are you sitting like that? And I'm just like, for some reason, being like tucked in just feels more comfortable than just sitting. I don't know. There was just, but then I kept
you're hitting all the bullet points there, Alex. Yeah, exactly. Things are tight, comfort. That's why right now the sort of weighted things are so popular. Weighted blankets and weighted stuffed animals, because there's a comfort in being secure.
Right. And it's certainly something that, like I said, when you start putting it all together, I'd say stuff and you could just see her kind of going, just nodding. And I literally, when she said, just give me yes or no answers, and not a single question did I say yes or no. I said yes because, or no, because my thought was, if you have the full context, you can make a more accurate whatever. But as soon as I was done, I went down to,
that's what you think. That's not what they want.
Right. And I didn't mean this in a derogatory sense, and I'm not going to say the word that I used. But when I went down to Jessica, I just said, "Oh God, I'm special. There's no way that the thing's coming back." But like, I didn't mean it in a bad way. I was like making fun of myself. Like I just couldn't stop, and I kept apologizing over and over again. I just couldn't stop. But it's fine. But it's been fun and interesting, and I'll be honest, it in a weird way, it's almost like I was hoping, not even for the medication side of stuff, but it was like I was almost hoping that there was something there, because I feel like it gives me another experience or tool to use in helping other people work through stuff.
And it's easier for, there's an answer. I think we're always in search of an answer, right? So just sort of like, not that we ever want to be completely defined or ever be put in a box, right? But it's just sort of like, as human beings, we have a desire to say like, oh, these are the things that I've seen in my life. So, okay, it to connect some dots sometimes is a good thing. And then, and then it helps us to, you're going to be able to use that stuff and say, all right, now I have a better picture of, how my process is, and I'm going to be better at it.
Right. And yeah, so it was just as much what I mentioned, but then what you mentioned as well is having an answer. And I know it's not quite related, but like I said, you're connecting dots that people haven't. So one of the guys I coached, he came with me and he's like, he just happened to offhand mention, growing up, I was always right-eye dominant. If I'd shoot, if I did this, whatever. He's like, but with darts, I'm left-eye dominant. And I'm just like, okay. And then we work on it later. And I told him, okay, I was like, I want you to line up with your, with your like normal. Okay. And he's here. And I say, okay, line up with your right eye. And all he does is like, he just lifts his head like this. And I took a picture of him aiming with his left eye and then his right eye. And I was like, bro, they're the exact same. And so I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to close your left eye, line up, now open your eye. And he's like, way over here now. And he's like, that's weird. And so I told him, I was like, look, if everything in your life has always been right eye dominant and suddenly your left eye dominant, I said, how long ago was it since you've done those things? And he's, years and decade, 2 decades, whatever. And so I was like, is it possible that your vision's just gotten worse over as you've aged and you've kind of naturally drifted over because this is your stronger eye? And he's like, maybe. And I was like, how about this? Before we work any more on this and introduce or make changes, go see an eye doctor. If you can afford it. I don't want to tell you to go spend a bunch of money.
Specs.
But he went to the eye doctor and he had to get glasses and he's still working through that. But it's just like those are the little things that I help people get through. I'm not telling them, I'm not focused on, no, make sure you do this. It's more, I want to change how.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I can only close my right eye. So if I shoot a rifle, I'm shooting with my left eye, but I'm a right-handed dart thrower. So I suspect I'm just like that guy. My line of sight was been screwed up my entire career.
So I don't know if she's still watching, but so you said you can only close your right eye?
Yeah, that's it. I can't. I cannot close my left. I cannot close my left eye. I can obviously close them together, but I cannot do this.
Right. Because I make fun of her. I think it's like she can't move her eyebrows like one at a time. She for some reason that just reminded me of that. Not to make fun of her,
Oh
publicly.
man, Alex, it's been an absolute blast. I'm we've got a lot of stuff that we didn't even cover, stuff with PopCon and more pop culture stuff. So it's gonna be great to have you on again in 2026. And so we'll keep tabs on everybody when Alex heads over to the Grand Slam and heads over to the Worlds, and we'll keep everybody abreast on social media of what's going on. So any last things that you want to cover that we can help you promote and or things that you just want to convey to everybody?
I mean, like you said, we kind of covered a lot. I guess the thing is that I'm always open. I may not get to your messages right away because if you messaged me 3 days ago, I saw your message. It may not show up as read, but I saw your message and I felt like you needed more than just 2 minutes of my time. So I'm waiting until I have an extended period of time to reply to you because I feel like you deserve my time.
Oh, I relate to that.
I can't help
it. The more important the message, the tougher I have crafting it because I want it to be perfect.
Right. So first of all, that. Second of all, if anything like that we talked about it, whether you're watching it now or whether you're watching it later or whatever, if you have your own issues or if you have questions or whatever about whatever, message me because I'm also going through it. Maybe you know things I don't know. Maybe you can help me. Maybe I can help you. I don't know. And then the other thing is Anthony, obviously we talked about more than just the darts, and I've been wanting to do this kind of thing for a long time. So I would say the people watching now or in the future, if you want to see more of these with other players to get to know them, because like I said, like I mentioned to you in the chat before we started this, it's a lot of these guys, the top 10 guys in the CDC, if you put the pop quiz in front of me that says, where do they live? What do they do for a living? How many kids do they have? I have no clue. And it's because I don't ask those questions. I'm sure maybe your wife gets mad at you too. I'll come home and someone will tell me the back end of some drama that they just assumed I knew the first half of it. And they're like, oh my God, did you hear the update? And they'll tell me, and I'll come home and tell my wife, so apparently so-and-so did this thing and then they're with this person and whatever. And then she's like, oh my God, well, how did it start? I don't know. I didn't ask. Why didn't you ask? Because
I don't know. Just didn't occur to me.
Like, you could tell me your deepest, darkest secret and I'll probably already have it forgotten by Tuesday. I know somebody told me something about this thing, but I don't remember who or what it was about. It's just that kind of stuff doesn't latch on. Stuff that I love. Like I said, when I practice, I'm not listening to music. I'm listening to like Neil deGrasse Tyson and like science videos because I'm a nerd.
Black holes and all that kind of good.
All kinds of whatever. I got my places. Okay, there's a couple new videos today. I toss those on and I throw. So the stuff that I latch onto, I stick with that. If you're telling me gossip about how so and so did something, I'll be like, damn, that's crazy. And then so anyway, I don't know. But
so the next episode we're going to cover, Metallica at the Garden, string theory, and what are the proper outshots on 128.
Yeah. Also, and look, I did the raffle for the Worlds. I do plan on doing another. I think it's just really fun. We get those free tickets. I think it's important to give your average person an opportunity. Obviously, I can't do that for everybody, but just
Yep.
giving people the opportunity to win a potentially paid, and then it's easy enough for me. I'll run a raffle. Darts I was going to sell anyway. I can maybe make a little bit more, and what they do is that money doesn't even go to me. It's going to go to one of you guys to
Yep.
it's going to cost $1,000 out of my pocket to take Mike Patty from Texas to the Worlds with me, and I'm very happy to do that because I have the ability, I have the opportunity to make that happen. Is it going to put more pressure on me to play well at Worlds? Yes, it is, but I don't care. At least they get the experience. So
It's an amazing, amazing opportunity. So,
Yeah.
Alex, thank you so very much for joining us. I hope everyone out there enjoyed this. And once again, we want to congratulate the now two-time CDC Continental Cup champion, the Jackal, Alex Spellman. Thank you, sir. We'll
Yep.
talk to you down the road.
Yep. Thank you for having me, man.
All right, folks. Yeah, as Alex said, if you liked this content, we do want to do more of it. There's so many great people in the dart world that we'd love to catch up with and have these just conversations, right? Just two people having a conversation about darts, about life, about pop culture, and music and all of that good stuff. So give us feedback. Let us know. Let us know in the chats or on our social media. Email us info@champdarts.com. Let us know who you'd like to see next, who you'd like for us to talk to, any other great content that you want to know that, is CDC related, North American darts related, or, darts in general. So it's been a real pleasure. I appreciate Alex for giving us some time. I hope you enjoyed it out there. Thanks for joining us. We'll do a couple of things. I have had the chat up here. Let's see if I can get through. Let's look at the YouTube chat, see if there's been any questions that I can answer. And as I open it up here, what did I do? Oh, here's the chat. Okay. Let's see. Thank everybody in there. Warren and David and Stacy. Phil Barr's in there. So appreciate everybody in there. Let's see. A lot of great comments for Alex. So appreciate everybody in there. Let's see if there's any specific. And I apologize. I probably should have looked for any specific questions for Alex while we were speaking. A lot of great content in there on YouTube. So thank you for that. Let's take a look on the Facebook side. Miss Jessica in there, AVK and Teddy. Thank you all for being involved. Appreciate that. Okay. So let's close things up with again a little reminder. Let's play the newsletter and give you some information. So if you want to stay in the know with the CDC, sign up for the CDC newsletter to be the first to get the latest news, tips on improving your own dart game, special offers, discounts, and insider info. So go to champdarts.info/in the know, and you can sign that up. And you can also, if you visit the Facebook, not the Facebook page, the website, champdarts.com, there's a great welcome page when you get there, and you can sign up that way as well. Okay. The other thing is, let me get up our flyer for the Q School. All right. So another reminder on 2026. Let's put that up there. So again, you can follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You search @ChampDarts. Subscribe to those pages, and you can find us on podcast platforms like Apple and Spotify. Up next in November, we're going to have a nice roundtable that includes a lot of the great familiar faces that you've seen on Shooting the Bull over the last 2 years, like Sean Green and Peter Cetera and Jeff McMahon and KJ McGlynn and a few others. And we're going to sit around and have a good time swapping some stories about the 2025 season. Hope you've all enjoyed watching the tour unfold. And, we crowned the champion in Alex Spellman in Philadelphia, and it's always been our honor to bring that circuit to you. We want to thank our sponsors and our venues for helping us bring that to you. We're in the works of putting together 2026, so stay tuned on social media, CDC platforms for information about that. And, up next will be the PDC Grand Slam, and we'll root Alex on to that, and then it's the Worlds, baby. So we've got a lot of great stuff coming up in the world of darts. So thanks for watching. My name's Anthony Eugenia, and I'll see you down the road on Shoot.